choice I made. Now I can change my fate. No one can take this heart away. First, you gotta pick a side. Now you got a team and you're rolling with the pride. Wanna play the game and make it to the end. I'm gonna bring it back again. I feel it inside. I'm reaching my stride. I'm standing my ground. I won't give in. I'm moving ahead. I'm back from the dead. I'm ready to fight again. Raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof. I'm raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof. I'm raising the roof. Find another way to fight another day. Find another way. Find another way to fight another day. Find another way to fight another day. Find another way. Find another way to fight another day. I feel it inside.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
From one side of the Atlantic to the other, the MX-5 series continues its globe-trotting ways, and from the high banks of Daytona International Speedway, we now find ourselves here at the Circuit Barcelona Catalunya in Spain, the home of the Spanish Grand Prix. Hello everyone, and welcome to round 5 of the Monday Night Series for the Precision Racing League. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the booth by Joey Tebben, with our director and producer Connery Maddock behind the scenes. And Joey, we are very much ready to get going here on this abridged layout of this circuit.
An abridged layout, and that's going to be very interesting. We've gotten rid of the entire first sector. That's all gone, all those fiddly little corners. It's just one hairpin and the rest of the track as we know it. So it's an interesting dynamic. It's probably a layout a lot of these drivers haven't driven before, if they've driven at Barcelona at all. So that could even the playing field just a little bit, or it could spread things out if anybody has some experience with that first corner.
It certainly could, and we did talk to a number of the drivers last week, and a lot of them did not have a whole lot of experience on this circuit. And I think the one thing that could be a little bit of a wrench into the works around here is it's still a pretty long straightaway that they go down, so we're definitely going to see some of that signature MX-5 draft.
This is the signature MX-5 draft that's kind of been the story of every single race this season. At Monza, at Brands Hatch, at Summit Point, last week at Daytona. Those tracks have nothing else in common, and yet these drivers have put on a ridiculous pack race in every single one of them. So I would not be surprised if that continues tonight. It's a little bit of a short field, only 13 cars, but that could make for an even wilder race with everybody stuck together.
Yes, it could. Let's go ahead and take a look at that schedule. The 4 rounds we've had down, a couple of bull rings there in the form of Monster Jr. and Brands Hatch, the big bear that was Daytona. Next week, we head to Hungaroring, and then another couple of little bull ring circuits there in the form of Sebring Club and Suzuka West. But we end the season at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit and the Silverstone National Circuit. So a good smattering there of long and short tracks for these MX-5s.
A smattering indeed, and Hungaroring is probably the most similar to this Barcelona circuit we're running this week. Nürburgring, the GP course, it's pretty darn big, so it's about 2 Barcelonas long if I had to calculate. I don't know if that's exactly correct, but I am most looking forward to Sebring Club and Suzuka West and the Silverstone National Circuits. Those bull rings have been the best tracks for all of this season. What they lack in corners, they make up for in action, and it's going to be a great second half of the season once we finish tonight.
It most certainly is, but let's take a little bit of a further look back at what we've been on over the course of this season. It is Bradley Holly that is leading the way right now with 139 points. Marion King's trying to cut down on that gap a little bit, only 10 points back. Mark Kalin, Bradley Holly's teammate there, a little bit ways back from then, kind of in an island unto himself. Kelly Greenhoe, David Van Roy, Jeffrey Smith, Patrick Cowgill, though, they are locked in a very, very fierce battle for fourth, with Ian Cabana maybe being able to poke his way up into that as well. Kevin Bergquist and Sylvian Gallant both looking to try to hold on to those top 10 positions. Over in the teams standings, however, it's a little bit of a different story, as up at the top of the charts, it is Team Ram Rodaback holding a pretty sizable over 25 point advantage over Mini Horsepower. Crikey Esports a little bit ways back from them, but still within striking distance if they want to do unlimited slip in an island unto themselves, as is SRT Esport and YS Motorsports, putting 6 points down on the board. So a lot of work for them to do, but for today, all of that is going to start here during qualifying. But before we get to qualifying, want to give some massive thank yous out there to our sponsors. First and foremost, want to thank VCO, our partner here in presenting this series, the virtual competition organization, without which absolutely none of our broadcasting here on RaceSpotTV would be able to be possible. We also want to thank Advanced Sim Racing. Excuse me. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest, most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. We also want to thank RaceLab apps. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Also, thanks to the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products provide an incredible level of immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. And finally, thanks to NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. What performance we're going to be tracking out on track right now is currently Mark Kalin's, who leads the way, putting in a fastest lap time right there of a 1:22.354. That is going to be the fastest time out on track by about a tenth of a second, but it is very, very close there between second with David Van Roy and Kelly Greenhoe. Only about 62 thousandths of a second separating the two of them. Kevin Bergquist and Michael Chase round out your top five, and just as I say that, Ian Cabana able to work his way up into P2.
Kalin only 6th in practice. He ran a 1:22.3, fittingly enough, by the end of the session, so he hasn't found much more speed in qualifying, and I expect him to get dumped off the top by Bradley Holly and a few of the others who were faster than him once this qualifying session ends. But for now, that first lap was solid enough. It was consistent for Mark Kalin, and with that long front straight that we talked about, and almost as long straight on the back straight after Kempsa, it's going to be important to stick with the pack. And as long as Mark Kalin can qualify around the top 5, where he basically has all season, I don't think he'll have any problem, even if he does qualify a little bit lower than he has in some of his previous weeks here. But Bradley Holly still hasn't set a lap yet. We're still waiting for him to come by, but when he does, I have to imagine it'll be in the low 122s or the high 121s.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there about that, as it's going to be very, very close to see what is going to be able to play out for the rest of these drivers. We watch Holly right now trying to see what he's able to do. A little bit of fiddliness there coming out of Lakaja, and then working his way up through this long right-hander. And Joey, while we may miss that first sector that is very punishing there on those left front tires, still a lot of long, high-speed corners around this Barcelona National Circuit.
They're basically all long, high-speed corners, except for this little chicane here. We could have had some even more long, high-speed right-hand corners, the final 2 corners of the track that some series run, some layouts run, but here we do have that pesky little chicane, extremely difficult to nail. It's easy to spin as well on cold tires. Bradley Holly crosses the line here. That's a slow lap, almost a second off Mark Kalin, so see if he can improve on his second lap here, because he was much, much faster than this in practice through turn 1. Looks tidy, but for whatever reason, that first lap was just slow.
Yeah, I think he may have gotten a little bit held up there from going through Lakaja. We'll have to see what he's able to do. This is pretty important to be able to watch, though, as he works his way through that alternate layout portion section of the track, coming now through what would be traditionally turn 9 on the Grand Prix circuit. But working his way down now into the braking for Lakaja. No real movement at the top of the charts. Still only about 1600ths of a second separating there, as Michael Chase able to put his way up into third, and still now only about 1700ths of a second separating first from fifth. It is very, very close running up the top of the charts.
Now we do see Bradley Holly take care of this finicky section. There's a huge sausage curb on the inside that he just drove by. 2 more huge sausage curbs here. A little bit out of shape through the first half of the chicane, but generally pretty cleanly. Cleanly, is that a word? I hope it is, but to the line, this one should be improved. It's tracking decently. 123.2 is not representative of what Bradley Holly can do, and there he goes. It's still slower than what he did in practice, but he's up to pole by a few thousandths of a second, but still pole.
It's pole, and that's exactly what Holly needs to do to be able to push himself forward as much as possible. Remember, trying to hold on to that championship advantage with only 10 points over Mark Kalin. That is going to be absolutely crucial to try to hold on to. But it is very, very small margins across the screen here, and it's not exactly going to be easy, I think, for a lot of these drivers to try to get themselves up forward. But as you said, if you can keep in that main pack, that is really and truly what it is. We watch here the number 12 of Kelly Greenhoe doing a little bit of weaving back and forth, trying to get some heat into those tires. It's not a particularly warm day out here in Barcelona, only 77 degrees Fahrenheit out on track.
I wish it was 77 degrees Fahrenheit on track every day, because that is exactly what you want. You do not want the tires on these Miatas to be overheating as much as they have on some of the other races this season. As much as we've seen a lot on iRacing in the last few months, the last few weeks, it's just been extremely hot on iRacing in the real world, but glad to see a little bit of shade, a little bit of cool here in Barcelona. On your screen now, you see the 2 mini horse racing teammates, Greenhoe and Kings. They're working together right now because apparently they don't have enough speed in qualifying right now. They're only 6th and 8th. That's way lower than they normally are, but now they're working together, trying to pull either one of them up to the top, and oh, that's not going to help very much. King spins in front of his teammate.
That's not going to help at all, as we were saying that, Mark Kalin bumping his way up to the top of the charts with a time of a 1:22.315. You see a little bit of laughter there from Kelly Greenhoe, I think, talking with his teammate as he spun himself out a little bit there. But crucially, I was watching Kalin's lap as he went around, doing that without the toe. So no toe being taken there from either Bradley Holly or Mark Kalin. That could be a little bit of an opportunity here for Mini Horsepower to try to jump their way up to the top of the charts, maybe use that toe to their advantage.
And that's been the story of this whole season. These 2 pairs of teammates working together, the 2 mini horse racing teammates, the top 2 car Ram Rodeback duo of teammates, more of the Wadaback side with Kalin and Holly. They've been working together all season, and it's just been a question of who's better, who comes out on top. Kelly Greenhoe throws that lap away. He got super loose out of the final corner. He's still got 6.5 minutes to go, but right now it looks 100% to be advantage Wadaback.
Yeah, and I think there Kelly also coming down pit lane to potentially try to blunt off some of that momentum and maybe get a little bit of that toe from his teammate to be able to come back around here. As we look on the charts, I did notice there, I think that was Michael Chase, unless my eyes deceived me. No, excuse me. It was Kevin Berquist and his teammate working their way around. He and Ian Cabana doing a little bit of tandem racing, and it now looks like the Bradley Holly is taking a little bit of a note there of those teammates from Mini Horsepower, and they are working on the draft together. So he's going to try to pick up a little bit of draft there from that Crikey Esports team.
Crikey. And there's Bradley Holly's livery. We had a little bit of an issue there, but now that is that familiar blue and silver and black and all the familiar colors of Bradley Holly's Miata. They're finally back, and it's looking like a solid lap. His car looks like himself, and now this lap looks like himself too, and he's going to get a little bit of draft here from. I believe that's the 64 of Kevin Bergquist right ahead. So this has all the makings of a good lap, unless this is still a warm-up lap. I might have mistimed this. This might still be the warm-up lap. And yeah, it looks like it is. So Bradley Holly, he's going to get some draft to start this next lap. And as long as he doesn't catch Kevin Bergquist too quickly, this could be a pretty solid lap with quite a bit of help.
Yeah, I think so as well. But again, it's going to be that tricky balance. Excuse me, as it looks like Bradley there did almost come to a little bit of blows there with Kevin Bergquist coming right up behind him. No doubt that's going to slow down Bradley a little bit. I'm keeping an eye on his times to be able to see what he's able to do here through the first sector. Only 2 sectors on this shortened circuit. So he's definitely getting very close. And that's Austin Bartlett Chase also directly up ahead of him. Bradley hasn't had enough waiting around. He is going to move his way by Bergquist down into Lakaja. I
think that lap's written off, though. That first sector, he got held up the instant he went under braking into turn 1, and then through Campsa as well. He just got way too held up. And now he's got clean air, or at least he will have clean air once he dispatches of Austin Bartlett Chase ahead. But Mark Kalin has completely clean air, but he does have a teammate. He is a teammate, Charles Sumner. In some of the other PRL series, they're not a teammate, but Whataback and Car Ramrod have merged here, worked together in the Miata series, and this is great for Mark Kalin. The familiar orange bumper of Charles Sumner is pulling Mark Kalin forward just a little bit, and it'll help if he can keep it straight in the braking zone too.
Yeah, that car getting a little bit squirrely there, under braking, trying to be able to see if he can get his way around. They also have a driver up ahead of him that's going to be giving Sumner a little bit of a tow. That is Rodrigo Michelin. The one thing that I think Kalin is going to have to watch out for is Sumner is currently last of the drivers on the qualifying charts. Michelin decides to pull off there. He's going to go off and go off into the gravel, as it were. Sumner, I think that may have been a little bit of a checkup there for Kalin. You can see that grimace on his face.
I think I saw him say move over, so I think he might be talking to Charles Sumner in a chat or something, and he's asking him to move over after he steals the draft here down the front straight. We'll see if that actually takes place here. And they're breaking into 1. No, Sumner's not going to get out of the way. He's not going to move over, so Kalin's going to get held up here, and looks like he won't be able to improve on this lap unless Sumner does move over a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Checking back in on Bradley Holly, who, having dispatched there the number 64 of Kevin Bergquist, he is running up in clean air, trying to see if he's able to set any times. Even with that checkup, by the way, it looked like he was actually able to set a personal best through the first sector, so a little bit remarkable there for him, I have to say. But let's see if he's able to get anything here on the second part of this lap, trying to improve on that 122.343. Gonna be about 0.5 of a second off that. Let's watch Ian Cabana here. Cabana's gonna cross over the line with a 123.4. That's not gonna be an improvement for the 774.
Seems like it's really hard to improve this late in the session. Nobody's been able to improve ever since Mark Kalin really put that banker down. And I guess Bradley Holly improved a little bit, put himself up into second, but really nobody else has improved in the last 4 minutes. Michael Chase and Austin Bartlett Chase were just working together there, and Corey Precker's got no help. Unfortunately for him, he has a few teammates, but none of them are working with him right now, and this is just a vanilla lap all on his own. Oh, little bit of oversteer on entry there, hops the curb, kills a little bit of his momentum. The final 2 corners here, they look pretty tidy, doesn't clunk the curbs too much, so nothing too bad, nothing too remarkable for Corey Precker, but unfortunately the speed just hasn't been there in the first couple laps. We'll see if he can improve here on his likely third to last chance.
Yeah, and there he's going to cross over the line. That is not going to be an improvement. You can see a little bit of a face of disappointment there from Corey Precker. And I don't really have an explanation here, Joey, as to why times aren't improving. We're not seeing any changes in the temperature out on track, and the wind is pretty consistent here at about 9 miles an hour. So I don't really have a lot of it.
There's our improvements.
There we go.
Just as we start talking about it, Holly and Chase both jump Kalin. And that's going to be super disappointing for Mark Kalin because he's back in the pits. He's not going to get to improve, and he's been jumped twice in the space of about a second.
Yeah, it's going to be very disappointing there for him as we now watch Ryan Kings, who's buried all the way in 8th. And remember, Kings sits second in the championship right now, so he very much wants to be able to try to put a better time down on the board. want to give massive credit there, though, to Michael Chase, who was able to put in that fantastic time, setting a purple time through the first sector. Here comes Kings to the line. That is going to be an improvement. He's going to jump himself up to fourth. That's a little bit more like it for the 43.
If I remember correctly, Michael Chase started on the front row at Brands Hatch as well, and he was the driver that had a horrific amount of wheel spin in the start. But we'll see if he's learned from that. If he does get to stay on the front row, he got a lot of help from Austin Bartlett Chase, his fellow Chase, but now he's the one giving the help, so we'll see if this lap can give Austin Bartlett Chase a little bit of help that he needs to jump up from ninth. I don't think Michael's going to improve here because he doesn't have that draft, but let's see through the final corner. I don't think he's going to improve, but Austin Bartlett Chase is going to be the one to watch.
Yeah, I think you're right. As Austin Bartlett Chase comes across the line there, doesn't look like an improvement there for the number 17. And indeed, Michael Chase is going to pull off to the side, as is Austin Bartlett Chase. And you were right there about Michael Chase being on that podium, being on second place for the race at Brands Hatch. He did have that wheel spin off of the line. He also had a very, very scruffy pit stop that I believe resulted in a penalty that saw him fall down the field. So he'll be hoping to avoid all of that here today at Barcelona. Now we watch Ryan Kings getting a little bit of a draft from David Van Roy. Watch out for this lap. He was purple through sector 1. This could be a bit of an upset here for the number 43. He's going to cross over the line in just a few seconds. A 1:22.183. That's pull by 53 thousandths of a second.
Call that a buzzer beater. Very last second, Ryan Kings does it. He's in the championship battle with Bradley Holly. Only 10 points separate him. He's got to start finishing ahead of him to start beating him, and that's the best possible thing he could do.
Yes, it is. He's going to be very, very pleased with that. Maybe just waiting for a few more drivers here to cross over the line to see where they are. Derek Putnam looks like he is unable to improve. Corey Precker came around. He is unable to improve. I think the last driver here that we are waiting for is the number 81 of Rodrigo Michelin. He is going to come down out of the final corners here. He was able to set a personal best through the second sector on his last lap. Not necessarily tracking here to go well in the first sector, but let's see as he crosses over the line. Just has to improve on a 1:23.3, and it looks like he's not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, it was a little bit scruffy through the first part of the last chicane, and that just kind of kills your momentum through the second part, and it kills the ever so important momentum through the final corner and down to the front straight. So Rodrigo Michelin starting at the back of the field, but he'll be back there to pick up the pieces if he can survive lap 1.
Yes, he most certainly will, and that's going to bring us to our qualifying grid here today at Circuit Barcelona, Catalunya. On pole position, it will be Ryan Kings, followed by Bradley Holly on his outside. Behind them, it'll be Michael Chase and Mark Kalin. Ian Cabana and David Van Roy will line up behind them, with Kelly Greenhoe and Derek Putnam lining up in P8. P9 is going to be Austin Bartlett Chase, followed by Kevin Berquist, with Christopher Grimes and Corey Precker behind them. Malcolm Foster lines up 13th, followed by Rodrigo Michelin, and Charles Sumner will bring up the back of the field. There you can see with all of those wonderful liveries out on the car. I've got to say, I'm watching out for Kelly Greenhoe there back in 7th. That could be a little bit of a charge up through the field. Also watching out for Charles Sumner, who will be starting off in 15th as tail end Charlie on the field. He's shown some good pace over the course of this season. May just be an indication here that he doesn't feel entirely comfortable with this circuit, but at the same time, we'll have to see. Looks like we are just waiting on Derek Putnam right now, the last driver to grid up, as everybody else takes their place on the grid. Kings, Holly, Chase, and Kalin, your top 4. That's going to be a very, very interesting run down into this first corner. A heavy braking zone as Putnam lines up on the grid, and we get ready to go racing here. Waiting for the lights to tick on. 3 lights, 4, 5, and there go the lights after a very quick succession. We are racing in Barcelona. It's a great start there for Bradley Holly, who's immediately going to try to put pressure to Ryan Kings. Kings looks like he's able to just keep ahead. No more wheel spin problems there in the back for Michael Chase, although it does look like he's going to lose out a little bit there to Mark Kalin. And Cabana also starting to threaten your pole sitter, trying to defend a long way around the corner, and that's going to come back to bite him. Holly makes a brilliant move down to the inside.
I thought Kings was a little bit better on the brakes into turn 1, but then he just overcooked it, went way too wide. I think he was just trying to give Bradley Holly room. and it did not work out whatsoever for him. He's going to fall down to second here. It's a good start by Kalen. It's a good start by Chase this time to stick with him, so look for this to be your 4-car pack for quite a little while now.
And it looks like there that the 43 of Ryan King's trying to take a little bit of a look down to the inside of Bradley Holly. You called it right.
Whoa.
That car very good on the binders. A little bit of argy-bargy there in the back between Chase and Kalen, and more side-by-side coming through the right-hander.
Side by side, the outside here might be the place where you want to be if you can pinch Bradley Holly down onto the inside there, but it looks like Kings is going to have to back out of it. That was a huge loose moment for Kalen out of the hairpin there. He did well to save that, but that little moment has actually allowed all those drivers who kind of lost these 4 cars to catch up to the back. So now it's a much, much bigger train. Kalen's fighting with Cabana, and then Van Roy, Greenhoe, Putnam, and even Austin Bartlett Chase. They're all in the train now.
Yes, they are, and keeping around that crucial 1 second mark. Here comes a look from Ryan Kings trying to get back to that first position. Michael Chase going to be closing in as well. Both drivers trying to get down onto the binders. Kings learning his lesson from last time. Tries to stick down to the inside line. A little bit of a wiggle there for Bradley Holly, but he is going to be able to defend. Meanwhile, behind him, Mark Kalen has been able to hold on behind them. Ian Cabana, David Van Roy making up your top 6. I think there may have been a little bit of a problem in the back there with Charles Sumner as he went a little bit wide and falls down through the order, but we keep our eyes focused here on this lead battle.
It's been terrible to be the leader on these first couple laps. Every single time either Holly or Kings takes the lead, they just get instantly passed again. But this time Kings not able to get back by. He's able to get to the bumper. He's always able to stick with them, but now it's going to get more difficult to pass through this sector. But through turn 1, it is just a switch fest. And I imagine it'll be more the same thing, because Holly has not seemed that inclined to defend the inside or defend the outside or wherever he thinks is better, because, you know, leading right now doesn't really matter. It's just all about sticking with all these guys and making sure you're probably in the first 2 or 3 cars to give yourself a shot in about 30 minutes time.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. It's all about that setup. The other thing to keep in mind here is maybe a little bit of fuel strategy, trying to back off a little bit, save a little bit of fuel, as that's not on the mind, though, of Ryan Kings, as Kings is going to have another look to the inside, this time much later on the binders. He's going to have that corner all to himself, and that's going to be Michael Chase that says, please let me have a little bit more of that. Please snap of oversteer there for the number 43, but we've got it changed around top 3 in the form of Kings, Chase, and Holly.
I said Holly wasn't interested in defending into turn 1, but he was almost a little bit too indefensive into turn 1, because, yeah, he just let Michael Chase through there. He's still in the top 2, 3 cars, top 4 cars. Mark Kalen's sticking to the back of him, so he's not really losing anything by falling to 3rd. He'll probably easily be able to move back up into the top 2, but he has lost that 1 spot, and that just shows me that he's not that inclined in racing too hard right now. He's just thinking about survival at the end of the race, and that's why he's won so many races this season. He's won 3 out of the 4 races because he's been there at the end.
Yes, indeed. That is exactly what you've got to do. No matter how scrappy this MX-5 series can get now and again, it is very, very crucial to be able to be sticking through it at the end, and that is what we have seen there from Bradley Holly. A little bit of a look there for Michael Chase, as that was Ryan Kings getting a little bit sideways coming through the final corner, and now that's going to be Chase up and into the lead.
3rd to 1st in the space of 1 lap. Michael Chase ends up taking the lead here, but Kings is going to fight back. The optimal inside in turn 1, that's where Kings loves to go. Kalen's going to dive it as well. Is he going to make it 3 wide? He almost loses it on the brakes. Has to go through the grass. That was very smart by Kalen to turn in a little bit early there to not take out some of our leaders. He might get a slowdown because of that, but very well done by Mark Kalen to not take out the entire top 3 there.
Yeah, very well done indeed. And there you saw him back off a little bit, leave the line to Bradley Holly. But all of that jostling around has allowed for Cabana and Van Roy to really catch up to the back of this. And Kelly Greenhoe is there into it. Now looks like there's going to be a little bit of a look by Bradley Holly going down into Lakaja. Maybe thinking about it. Ooh, got to be careful there. Kalen looks good on the brakes, but maybe a little bit too over-aggressive there. He doesn't want to take out his teammate.
Well, the 2 teammates have taken each other out in 2 of the last 2 races at Daytona and Summit Point. So I hope they don't make it 3 for 3. Mark Kalen is always great on the brakes, and that's a problem in some of these heavy braking zones. When you have somebody who can brake as late as Kalen, somebody in front brake. Oh, that was a huge clonk by Chase.
Yeah, that was a clobber of that big sausage curb on the outside. I'm amazed he was able to keep all 4 tires on the ground there, let alone pointed the same way, but that is going to massively blunt his momentum. And indeed, there's a look down to the inside for Bradley Holly. He does not want to let Ryan Kings out of his sight, as Kings actually sets the fastest lap of the race last time out. Holly's not brave enough on the brakes to get that move down into turn 1, though.
Holly is not as late on the brakes in turn 1 as I thought he might be, but he has to be careful here not to fight too hard with Michael Chase to let Ryan Kings get away. They're still in that 1 second window, but one more sector of side-by-side racing with those two means that Kings is going to be a full second away, and he might just be able to drive off into the sunset. So these guys need to think strategically here. Work together, don't fight, let the guys behind you fight, but Holly's going to go for the move here. He's going to take the inside. Chase almost puts the bumper to him. It's crazy stuff, and you see the seconds, you see the time expanding. 1.3 seconds now is the gap between Kings and Holly.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to grow there a little bit, and I think that's probably what precipitated Bradley Holly's move there around Michael Chase. He didn't want to wait around. He thinks he's got the speed to try to close in, and indeed, he's already been able to take about 1/10 of a second. Mark Kalin tries to do the same thing on Michael Chase. That's not going to work out. We keep our eyes here on this battle right now, though. Back as, oh my goodness, here comes Kalin again down to the inside. That last corner just looking like it's the bane of Michael Chase's existence.
This is great for Bradley Holly, though, because this means he can fight on his own. Just do some qualifying laps to try and bring that gap down. You don't have to worry about fighting with anybody else, but now the battle is well and truly for third. Chase, luckily clear of Cabana there. Almost chopped his nose off, and Kings is wide, and Holly's going to take the lead now. This is crazy.
Oh my goodness gracious, every time you look away from one of these battles, something else fires off. Kings gets a little bit cockeyed there, going through the uphill section and catches it. He's got a little bit of a cone friend there as well as they work their way up the hill. The cone scattering off to the side there, and Kings is going to have to try to close back in on a 0.4 of a second advantage, but he has got to work and look behind on Mark Kalin as well. Behind him, Michael Chase trying to hold off Ian Cabana. Kelly Greenhill would like to get involved in this battle. It's all firing off here at Catalunya.
Yeah, this was a 1-car race like 2 laps ago. Then it was a 2-car race, and now it's about an 8-car race again. So things do not separate for very long here. They would have been separated, but that was just a costly mistake by Ryan Kings. I think he was just too late on the brakes, got a little bit too wide, ended up in the grass on the exit of turn 1, and he just lost all of that 1.3 second gap. And now he needs to be careful not to lose Holly now, because the gap between them is already up to 0.7. And Kalin's going to join him, and we know Kalin's going to be aggressive. We know he's going to fight with Ryan Kings, so he's got to stick with Holly here.
Yeah, he's got to try to close in a little bit, keep everything together as much as possible. We do not want to see this fire off in any bad way. Here's a move from Kelly Greenhill on Ian Cabana, down onto the binders, using that draft. Nice and easy as you please. That is going to be Kelly Greenhill up into top 5 to contention. A good move there for the mini horsepower driver.
And look at the maroon car of Derek Putnam in the background of this train. This is only his 2nd race in this series, and he is doing a fantastic job of sticking to the back of this train, running some solid lap times, and keeping the car on the track. So it's been a great race for Derek Putnam so far. Actually dead in the middle of the field with a 15-car field, so it's a solid race so far for him, but he's going to be hoping to move a little bit further forward, and if Cabana and Greenhill get those bumpers any closer, he might just do that.
Yeah, he very well might, and for a new driver in the field like this, to be able to get a good, solid, even mid-pack result can be a massive, massive boon, not only to your confidence level, but just to kind of a validation of your driving ability. A little bit of a lockup there in front. I'm not sure exactly who that was from. I think that may have been either from Ryan Kings or Mark Kalin, and indeed, they're going to be side-by-side now, headed on the main straightaway.
Holly says, thank you very much, Ryan Kings. Keep making those mistakes, because I'm just going to run away. And now Brad's teammate, Mark Kalin, is going to get to the inside of Kings, going to slow him down even more, and Bradley Holly's going to have a very comfortable lead here. Kalin gets to the inside. Kings can't fight it too hard, but he's going to have to fight back now, and that's just going to slow down Mark Kalin anymore. And unless Holly makes the same mistake that Kings made, we can't write off that possibility. Race is very much in control for Bradley Holly right now.
Yes, it is. He's got about a 1.3 second advantage as they run there. You saw a little bit of sideways action from Mark Kalin as he worked his way through the corner. I don't think Ryan Kings has any intention of letting this go. Kelly Greenhoe taking a little bit of a look there behind on Michael Chase, and indeed behind there, Ian Cabana and David Van Roy getting very, very close to each other. Holly may be running away with this race here, Joey, but the rest of the field has no intention of letting up the fight.
And we say he's running away, but I should say that even though he is currently doing that, things have changed every single time somebody has looked to be in control in this race so far. And Mark Kalin, we know he has speed. He was very, very close to Bradley Holly's pole lap time. So if he can get in control here, get rid of Ryan Kings, just run his own laps, he might be able to bring that gap down. But Ryan Kings still within that half-second window here. He's going to have a huge draft down the front straight. I don't think Kings will be close enough to go for a move, but Kalin is not getting away, and Holly is.
Yeah, that's the way it looks like it's shaken down. That gap has come down ever so slightly there. It's down to about 1 second here, which is exactly what Kalin wants to see happen. And I've got to think Kings as well. A little bit of a wide run there in the back, it looked like, for Ian Cabana. David Van Roy trying to take advantage of it if he can. We ride on the hood here of Kelly Greenhoe, who rides in 5th. I've got to give credit here to the mini horsepower driver. He is very, very patient right now, just slowly but surely working his way up through the field.
Very patient. That's how he was at Daytona last week, and that's how he almost won the race. He finished second in that epic battle to the line, but he was very, very patient. He waited until those last couple laps to take the lead from his teammate. He let his teammate make a mistake, and he almost won the race for it. So Kelly Greenhoe clearly has a lot of speed, clearly has a lot of patience as well, because he seems much, much faster than Michael Chase, but he just has not been able to make the move, or he hasn't wanted to make the move. Either way, he has just stuck here in 5th for past couple laps. The bumper of Michael Chase is very, very large in front of him, but can't get by, won't get by. Whatever it is, he's still in 5th. Now he's going to bring down pit road now, so this is smart. He was getting held up. Now he's going to get back in clean air, get out of traffic. This could be a great move for Kelly Greenhoe.
And this is one that we've seen Kelly do a couple of points over the course of the season. He likes to take this sort of off-cycle pit strategy and hope that it's going to be able to get him out ahead. Now, the real question here is going to be is if anybody else around him responds to this and is able to come on in. We see David Van Roy working down to the inside there of Ian Cabana. Putnam looking to try to take advantage as well.
Battle for what now has become 5th. Van Roy has held these guys, or he's held Derek Putnam back, but now he has to hold Ian Cabana back, he's been up in the mix, but he's just fallen back a little bit in this race, hasn't seemed to quite have the attack that he needs to move forward. And now Derek Putnam's going to get to the outside of Ian Cabana. Now he's going to switch to the inside. Will Derek be able to be late enough on the brakes here? It's pretty even with Ian Cabana. Cabana turns in, gotta leave him room. This is dicey stuff to go side by side up the hill here. It's very easy to come together, but Putnam gets through.
Yeah, Putnam gets through, and I've got to say there, I think that was a little bit of a heads-up play from Ian Cabana, choosing to back off just a little bit coming down through that. Now, I've got my eyes here on the rest of the field, namely Mark Kalin in this little battle to see if anybody's going to opt to peel down pit lane. It does look like Ryan Kings is going to be the latest to take that up.
And Ryan will go back there with his teammate Kelly, and they'll... Oh, David Van Roy spun out of the final corner. That's not a deliberate pit entry. If I was him, I'd just keep going and run into the pit lane, but he is trying to get back out on the racing surface. No, he is. He is going to bring it down pit road. Might as well do that if you're going to lose that much time, but that is costly stuff for David Van Roy.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think there, unfortunately for Van Roy, he also may have suffered a little bit of damage. There we see it, that sausage curve at the end, just proving the bane of his existence. That was also Ian Cabana coming down pit lane, it looked like as well. Christopher Grimes joining him.
If I was David Van Roy, what I would have done here is I would have reversed down the pit entrance and then spun it around once I got past the cone, but I don't know if that would have worked out. That's one to experiment with in practice. He clearly thought that doing a 17-point turn was the better of the options, and it might just have been. But he's going to have a little bit of rear end damage now because he backed it into the tires there. So in addition to that huge time loss he's going to have to fix a little bit of damage as well. So this is going to be a race of picking up the pieces for David Van Roy now, which is disappointing because he looked very strong early on. Holly's in, Kalin's in as well. Looks like some technical difficulties on DJ Clark's side that I will take over from here. Derek Putnam actually stays out and takes the lead, but here comes Bradley Holly, here comes Mark Kalin, here comes Michael Chase, the protagonists of this part of the race. Here we go, waiting here on pit road, on board with Kalin here. This is critical. There was about a second gap between these two, and now we wait for... There goes Holly, and there goes Kalin. So the gap about the same right now. As we leave pit road, it's quite a big gap for Holly, but Kalin is going to have to do some work to jump him. And let's look where Kings and Greenhoe. Look a little bit further back on your screen. Oh, they're barely going to jump Kalin. So Kalin is lost out in this battle to Kelly Greenhoe and Ryan Kings, and Charles Sumner trying to get out of the way. He hasn't brought it down pit road yet. This is a hefty battle for second here, but this is great for Bradley Holly. Look at that, almost a 2-second gap now as this pit road cycle has cycled out. Now we wait for the drivers who stayed out. Derek Putnam has stayed out. Corey Precker still waiting. Austin Bartlett Chase. Everybody down to Bradley Holly has still yet to pit, but this is around the time where we normally see these stops. About 20 minutes to go, halfway in the race. So now we wait for everybody else to bring it down pit road, and we fight for what will be second place here. Now that Bradley Holly has the lead, he has a comfortable lead. Unless he makes a mistake, he's not going to lose it. And I believe I just heard the bing bong of DJ Clark. I think you're back.
I am indeed back. Apologies for that. A little bit of internet problems on my end. But as we watch here, these leaders continuing to work themselves around the circuit, trying to see what they can do now that these pit stops have occurred. Putnam, Precker, and Chase leading the way. And Kings trying to chase down Bradley Holly, who has been able to come out on top of this.
If I was the two mini horsepower teammates, I'd be trying to get rid of Mark Kalin here and do something to work together. I don't really know what they can do because you can't tandem draft like you could at Daytona last week. Switching around isn't gonna help all that much. It's gonna slow you down, if anything. So basically their hope is that Holly makes a mistake or Kings can get separated from both of these guys and pick up the pace on his own time and bring down that gap. So there's a lot of strategies to consider here. Kalin looks to the inside, looks to the outside. He loves to be later on the brakes in these corners, but the outside in that corner just does not work at all. And that might be how Kelly Greenhoe gets by. Nope, Kelly lifts out of it. He's not going for the move yet.
Well, and I think one of the things to consider here in terms of these mini horsepower drivers is the team's championship. If they think Bradley Holly is too far out of reach to be able to gain the win, maybe they could be looking at a strategy here of Ryan Kings trying to hold back Mark Kalin and allow for Kelly Greenhoe to be able to jump in, lock down a 2-3 in the running order, and that should put them above Team Ramrada back. There we go. I'm going to get that right eventually. Try to be able to jump them in terms of the team standings.
Kalin's trying to jump Kings here. He's always been later on the brakes into one, and there he goes. Easy. A little bit of a puff of smoke on the outside. I think Kings might have clipped the paint on the exit or on the outside of the curb there. That might have been that little puff of smoke, but Kalin is back by. Kalin was completely free of these two before the pit cycle, and as always, the mini horse racing team have been very good on the pit cycle, very good at making up time. But now that Kalin's got ahead of Kings, he has the pace to run away, but he needs to run away. That's all he can do. He needs to get rid of Kings here.
Yes, he very much does, and he's going to try to do that here as now that they're in there. Ryan Kings being very aggressive with the curbing, I was going to say, and that's going to be him losing control of the car, losing time, and here comes Michael Chase to try to take that position back. It all going to naught here for Ryan Kings.
There's a pretty good save for Ryan Kings. He didn't hit anybody. He didn't completely lose the car. He did recover eventually. Let's take a look at the replay here. He was just trying to match Kalin on the brakes, I think, and it's very difficult to do that because Kalin's so good. You can see him getting loose and then over the curb, just a little bit of hippity-hop, and then overcorrecting and then recorrecting, and then he finally gets it pointed in a straight line, but that is like 3 seconds lost to that battle for Ryan Kings. You can't even see him in the same camera shot as them, and now he's got Michael Chase on the attack here. This is going to be the fight for fourth now. Kings isn't even fighting for the podium anymore.
what was going to be a battle there to try to take away maybe some team points for Team Many Horsepower, now all coming to naught because of that costly error for Ryan Kings. As you said, falling back down behind Michael Chase. It all just falling away here for the number 43 as he tries to work his way through the corners now, maybe try to gain up some time. And Joey, you know as well as I, when you make a mistake like that, that can get into your head as a driver and completely throw off the rest of your race.
I can't be too mean to Ryan Kings, but this season across the first 4 races, he has been more mistake prone than Bradley Holly, and that's been the difference in the championship. Kings has the speed of Holly, he has the speed of Kalen, he has the speed of his teammate Kelly Greenhoe, but unfortunately what has been his demise at the first race at Monza, we saw him throw it off the road on lap 1. Last week we saw him throw it off the road in one of the international horseshoes, and this week we see him spin and recover and lose quite a few seconds here at Barcelona. So Ryan Kings in the second half of the season, I think what he's going to be focusing on is making sure he doesn't make any more mistakes, because the gap to Holly is only growing now. After tonight, it'll be probably north of 15 points, and he's going to have to be mistake-free in the second half of the season if he wants to beat Bradley Holly to this championship.
Certainly is, and the first part of that, at least to try to gain back some of those points, is trying to send a move here on Michael Chase. Little bit of close quarters racing there as they come down through turn 1, but that inside line's going to prove out there. Whoa! That was Christopher Grimes almost getting involved there as a lapped car, and another big hop at the curb. We've seen Kings take that line a couple of times, flirting with danger there, and Bergquist is around up at the front of the field. I think he made a similar mistake to what Kings did.
And Bergquist has to bring it down pit road still, so that is costly, and it's going to be even more costly when he brings it down pit road. I imagine he'll probably do it this lap just to minimize the time lost, but yeah, that's exactly the same thing that Kings did. Unfortunately, Bergquist got on the throttle instantly and completely looped it around, so he couldn't save it like Kings did, but I would 100% expect him to bring it down pit road here. And through the final corner, yes, he is, of course. Minimize the time loss. You already made a mistake. Might as well get all of the time you're going to lose out of the way. He brings it down pit road, and it looks like his teammate, is that Ian Cabana bringing it down pit road again in front of him? No, that's Malcolm Foster.
Yeah, that is Foster coming down there. It's both drivers there for the Crikey Esports team as they're going to come down the lane right now, waiting to see as they come into the rest in the box. And this is going to start to help to cycle back around here all of our drivers who have yet to pit and get drivers up into the lead of the race. But Derek Putnam going to be the one that he is going to be categorized as leading a race here with about 12 minutes left to go. He's going to be able to pick up a valuable mark on his records here for the Precision Racing League, having led a lap. As there we see the 64 moving back out pit lane there behind his teammate.
And this could be a good finish for Derek Putnam, because remember, he was in 8th place. He was at the back of the train. David Van Roy made a big mistake on pit entry. Ryan Kings made a big mistake. Michael Chase did not have a good run through pit lane, so it could be as high as a top 5 for Derek Putnam once he finally brings it down pit road. And the gap between Holly and Kalen as well has been coming down here. You can actually see Kalen in the same shot as Holly now. It was as high as 2 seconds. It's still 1.5 seconds, but Kalen is bringing this gap down.
Yes, he is, and that's exactly what Kalen's going to be trying to do. By the way, Precker and Bartlett Chase both opting to come down pit lane here, so that's going to send them down in the order right now, and that's going to put Holly up just a few more positions, get him closer to that lead. Putnam deciding to stay out for one more lap here, and there you can visually see that gap between Kalen and Holly. It's starting to come down a little bit.
Still about 1.5 seconds on the last lap. Mark Kalen did a 1:23.0. Holly did a 1:23.2. So coming down by about 0.2 a lap here. Kalen was a little bit slower on the lap before that. Holly was a little bit faster on the lap before that. So it has evened out a little bit, and that's not going to help Mark Kalen. Very, very wide there up the hill. That's going to kill his momentum here, and that's going to expand that gap even more. And Kelly Greenhoe's getting close to Kalen as well. So if they start fighting, Kalen can kiss this challenge goodbye again. I think Derek Putnam's going to bring it down pit road this time, but not yet. Holly's still waiting to take the lead. Let's see, through the final corner, is he finally going to bring it down? Yes, he is. Derek Putnam's finally going to give up the lead.
So there comes your newcomer into the series, relinquishing the lead, giving it back to Bradley Holly here. We're going to have to see where Putnam comes out. Remember, when everybody came down pit lane, that was at about 8th place there for Putnam. We'll have to see how he breaks out, but our eyes are now fixed on this man as we tick down under 10 minutes to go. It is going to be Bradley Holly holding on to a 1.2 second lead, and I've got to say here, Joey, I'm looking at these times, and Kalen has been consistently bringing them down. Not by leaps and bounds, but slowly but surely bringing them down over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, that last lap he was 0.2 faster, and now you can see, now that Holly's taken the lead, that gap is now a second. But I want to see this. Derek Putnam coming out of the pits. Is he going to be able to jump Ryan Kings? Oh, it's going to be tight. They might be 3 wide. Nope, they are officially through. So Kings and Chase get through. Cabana gets through as well. But up to 6th place for Derek Putnam, and as these guys continue to fight, Derek is definitely in the hunt for a top 5 here because these guys are not going to stop fighting. Kings wants 4th here, and he's still stuck to the back of Chase, who's looked a little bit squirrely, but he's been able to hang on for the moment.
Yeah, he has, and I think this is really going to be the flashpoint. We'll keep our eyes on that battle between Holly and Kalen, but this is the flashpoint right now to watch. King's trying to get a little bit. That was Bradley Holly making a very rare mistake coming out of Lakaja, I have to say. But here comes Kings working down into the corner. Looks like he's got a little bit of a run here on Michael Chase. Is he going to be able to do anything? Is he going to be able to get that move done? We will have to see as he tries to go. Working down now. Is he going to have a little bit of a look here into the right-hander? No, he's going to hold it off, maybe waiting for the draft to come into play.
Sold a little bit of a dummy move down there. That was interesting, but Michael Chase was not sold on the move, but Chase does a little bit of an ollie over the sausage curb. That's going to slow down his exit, and that's exactly what Kings wanted to see. Switches to the inside. That was very, very close, but Kings is going to get to the inside. If I was him, I'd move over a little bit to the left, steal a little bit of side draft, if that is even a thing in the Miatas, but he is going to have this move done. Kings to the inside. He loves the inside here. He almost doors Michael Chase into the braking zone, but he is through. Chase isn't going away, though. The battle continues, and Putnam's by Cabana as well.
Everything moving around. Derek Putnam able to gain 2 spots there after that pit stop. So good moves there for him, and he is copying Ryan King's very aggressive line down through that uphill section of the track, recognizing where to go and just being able to place those tires on either side of the sausage curb to make things work there for him, working very, very well as they're trying to see if the 774 of Ian Cabana is going to have any fight back, and it doesn't look like he's going to have any at all. I think Putnam's got this 6th position pretty much on lock, but whoa, there's some good momentum for Cabana coming off the corner.
Yeah, not too hasty. Derek Putnam was not all that great on the exit there. Cabana was that great. It was incredible. That was a lot of speed that Ian Cabana was able to hold through that corner, and now he is trying to get to the back of Derek Putnam. Putnam's been a little bit wide in that first part of the chicane. He just misses the apex seemingly every time, and that slows him down onto the straight. Cabana's going to have the draft here, and I expect him to send it to the inside here in a few moments, but look at that gap up front, 0.4 of a second. The gap no longer exists for the lead. It's truly on between the 2 teammates again.
It is indeed, but let's see here if Cabana's going to be able to send a little bit of a response down to the inside of Putnam. Gets squirrely under braking. Putnam actually moves out to the outside there, I think, to give Cabana a little bit of room. Is that going to be his downfall? No, it's not. Putnam is able to hold on. Some heads-up play there to avoid an incident and hold on to that position for the number 71.
I think that was a little bit of accidental defense. He just got a little bit loose under braking, and it ended up working out for him. It put him on the optimal line, but we'll see if the same thing happens again. This is the corner that Cabana was so good in on the last lap, on the brakes. Cabana's just a little bit better on the brakes, almost even that time, but it's the exit of the corner. Putnam clonks the inside just a little bit, gets a little bit loose on exit. They're about even that time, but that's perfect for Cabana because he's still stuck to the back of him.
Yes, he is. Cabana looking very, very strong here to try to hold on to that valuable draft. By the way, that pink car you see there behind, that's Christopher Grimes. That is a lap-down car, so this is not of issue here for either of them. The next car in line is Corey Precker, who's about 4 seconds back. But, Joey, we focus our eyes here up ahead. The gap between Bradley Holly and Mark Kalen down to about 2/10 of a second as they dive into the first corner with 5 minutes to go.
Well, I have 3 words for these two guys. Don't hit each other. It's happened the last 2 races. These two guys have hit each other. Holly's come out on top. Hopefully they don't do it again. I mean, if they do it again, that'll be pretty entertaining for us at home, but I don't think Mark Kalin will be very happy because he's been on the receiving end every single time. He's been on the worse end, and Bradley Holly won last week at Daytona after it was a racing incident last week. There could have been blame put on the accident at Summit Point, but there's been drama between these two. They're friends, so they gotten over it, but it still exists.
Yes, it most certainly does, but you can see the concentration there on Bradley Holly, the car Ram Rodavac driver, working his way up forward. They don't want to get too scruffy here involved in a battle as well, because Kelly Greenhoe is only about 1.8 seconds behind them, so they're going to have to see. Whoa, that was a huge clobber of the curves there for Kalin, and he's going to lose a couple of tenths as a result.
Kalin is getting very, very aggressive here. He wants this win, and he knows he needs to stick with Brad here in these last 4 minutes. He's able to use the draft here down the front straight, but it's only going to bring him about 0.6 of a second close to Bradley Holly. So Kalin's got to pick up the pace just a little bit. I think he needs to be 2 or 3 tenths closer down the straight if he wants to have any shot into turn 1 again. He's got to be a little bit better through these next 2 sectors, or 1 sector. There are only 2 sectors on this track, so he's got to be better through the second half of the lap.
Yeah, he most certainly does, as there they go. He's got the gap down to about 0.5 right now, still side by side there in the back between Putnam and Cabana, as Cabana is able to get the move down into 1. Putnam trying to see if there's a little bit of room there to be gained as they work their way up the hill right now into the fearsome right-hander that's flat out in cars with downforce. You got to do a little bit of feathering of the throttle here in these MX-5s. Now looking for a little bit of a tow is Derek Putnam. Fades out to the outside here. Is he going to be able to have a move? Tries to look for the crossover, carry momentum, has to check it up there as the 774 is able to perfectly slow himself right at the apex and prevent anything from happening.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Perfect. Oh, but that's not perfect. Kalin again loose on the exit of the chicane. And I think that might be the race lost for Mark Kalin. Unless Holly makes a mistake, he's now out of that 1 second window. And that is a costly error for Mark Kalin. And that might be his hopes for victory gone here.
Yeah, you see a little bit of shaking out of the wrist there. I think that was definitely an indication that he knew he made a little bit of a mistake, but I've got to agree with you there, Joey. It does look like in that first sector he's able to gain back a little bit of time under braking, but I think he just shed it back away, as now it looks like he's got about 0.2 of a second to try to gain back up. He's got to be careful, though, there. Getting almost all 4 tires off the track. That could be a slowdown through that section if he's not careful.
It could be a slowdown. If he does get a slowdown, he's lucky. Kelly Greenhoe has completely lost these two. He's about 2 seconds behind, so if Kalin does make a mistake, if he does get a slowdown, he has a little bit of buffer, but he's only got 2 laps to go here. He's actually brought the gap down below a second again, but he needs to be absolutely rapid here to completely close this gap, and it's not closing, but he's got another full lap to do it.
He's got another full lap. They come back around here. The lap times are about 1:22s right now, 1:23s, let's call it. And as we tick down under that mark, they will be coming to the white flag here. But crucially, Bradley Holly has extended. The gap is about 1.1 seconds as they get onto the main straightaway. Joey, I don't think that's going to be enough here for Kalin to be able to close this down.
This is going to be the most aggressive lap of Kalin's life, but he's got to be careful not to turn that into a huge mistake. He can close up to the back of Bradley Holly a little bit, but he needs to make sure he doesn't throw it off the road because he has second place on lock here. But the battle that never dies is also raging on here between Putnam and Cabana. Looks like Cabana's managed to pull away just a little bit, but Derek's close, so look for him to try and go for another move. Oh, wow, that's a late move. Putnam down to the inside. Doesn't quite work out for him, or does it? On the exit of the corner, it actually did work out for him. They're still side by side. This is incredible stuff between these two. They refuse to not battle today, and it's going to rage on more.
It's going to rage on more as there you can see Putnam trying to get a little bit more of the optimal line coming up through the right-hander, but he clobbers the sausage curve down to the inside, and I don't think that's exactly going to work out for him. He doesn't get the momentum that he wants. He's only about 0.3 of a second behind, but that's not going to be enough unless he's got an almighty move down into the Lakaja. It's not going to work out, but it is going to work out in the favor of your points leader, Bradley Hawley, in the 184, gets through the final chicane for the final time. Works his way there through the final corner, and he can see Barney the flagman as he charges to the line and takes victory yet again. Bradley Hawley winning here on Monday night.
4 wins in 5 races this season. It has been an incredible first half of the season for Bradley Hawley. Shouldn't be a surprise. Gets a well-deserved drink of water there. Kalen, he put up quite an effort, and this, the battle that never dies. Cabana is going to come out on top after Putnam in his place. Derek Putnam, 7th place, and even more, Rodrigo Michelin and Kevin Bergquist here. They're not done either.
Ooh, big hop of the curve there for Bergquist. Is that going to come back to bite him a little bit? Michelin certainly thinks it might as he muscles his way down to the inside, checks up the momentum there of Kevin Bergquist. Bergquist tries to look for a little bit of a crossover, but it's all going to be for naught as Michelin takes 12th away from Bergquist.
That's going to be a disappointing result for Bergquist. Remember, he was on the podium last week at Daytona. Fell a little bit further back this week, but we move on to a bigger track next week, and we'll see if he can find some of that Daytona success again next week.
We will have to see indeed, and that's going to bring us through a run-through of your final finishing order here from Circuit Barcelona, Catalunya. As we said, as we hooted and hollered about, it was Bradley Hawley that was able to take victory here over his teammate Mark Kalin. It was Kelly Greenhoe that rounded out your podium positions. We'll be talking to them shortly. Ryan Kings came home in P4, followed by Michael Chase with Ian Cabana and Derek Putnam with a very, very well-deserved 7th place. Corey Precker came home 8th, followed by David Van Roy, and Austin Bartlett Chase rounds out your top 10. In 11th place, it was Malcolm Foster, followed by Rodrigo Michelin, who just pipped Kevin Bergquist to the line. Charles Sumner was 14th, and Christopher Grimes finished 1 lap down. Well, that is going to bring us to some interviews here, Joey. And first up on the docket, it is our race winner, the one, the only, the points leader, Mr. Bradley Hawley. Let's go ahead and bring him on up into here. Bradley, I've got to ask you, starting at the start, it looked like you were backing off there a little bit, letting some of the guys get up ahead of you. Was that the strategy, or did you kind of want to always lead from the drop of the green?
That was my strategy. I felt like the tire fall off for this track was a lot more than normal, or just easy to overheat the tires. And I noticed some people did and some people didn't tonight.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit surprising to see that with relatively low track temperatures, but how were you managing the tires then over the course of the stint? It looked like once you came out of the pit stops, it was just full speed ahead.
Honestly, no. I was taking it pretty easy, and that's part of the reason why Mark was able to catch me in some sectors so well. It's just because I was braking a little early, just making sure I don't hit the turtles, or overheating the front tires. So when he did end up catching me, I could fight and probably have the edge on him.
Well, next week we head to another Formula One circuit, this time in the form of the Hungara Ring, the full Hungara Ring. Kind of similar in the way that these two tracks drive a little bit. Do you think you'll be able to carry it on there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I actually really enjoy that track, so it should be a fun race, and I'm sure the draft will be a big portion of the race. I believe there's a couple good straightaways there, so we'll have to get some practice in and see what I need to do to get another win.
Well, we wish you luck when you get there, my friend. You know the drill. Anybody you'd like to thank?
Definitely want to thank all the Waterback guys. We practice week in and week out trying to figure out how to be as competitive as possible. I'd like to thank everybody in the PRL, all our organizers and managers, just putting on a great league, and everybody at RaceSpot for putting on such a great broadcast.
Well, we are happy to do it. Thank you so much, Bradley, and thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you.
All right, that was Bradley Holly there joining us in. And now, Joey, I believe you have caught up with second place, Kelly Greenhoe.
Second place, Mark Kalin, I believe.
Yep.
I have moved up here. There we go. There's Mark Kalin. Mark, it was a tough race at the end there. You were just so close to your teammate Brad that it seemed like the gap was just staying at that critical 1 second. Was that frustrating to be so close but not quite able to break into the draft?
For the longest time, yeah, it was a little frustrating, and then finally I was making some inroads on them, and I got close enough to where I could have made a move for the lead, but unfortunately got a little turtle happy and had to make a mega save. Luckily, I didn't spin the car out, so I'm happy with P2, but I have a feeling there could have been one more spot there gained.
Well, next week at the Hungaroring, I think, if I remember correctly, that track has a distinct lack of these happy turtles. So you think you're going to fare better there when you're not beating and bouncing over those turtles?
Yeah, I'm pretty decent there as well. And if I recall, last time we were there, I accidentally wrecked Brad. So maybe I'll return to those old ways since he's wrecked me the last 2 weeks.
Well, we talked about that in the booth a little bit tongue in cheekly. You guys did come together in the last two races. Were you thinking about that at all when you guys were fighting at the end there?
Honestly, no. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if contact was made, just because we're both that aggressive, give it everything we can kind of drivers. But nothing would have been what's the word I'm looking for? Nothing would have been deliberate as far as trying to wreck each other. We may have banged doors or something like that, but not like trying to turn each other or anything like that. So.
All right, well, second half of the season overall, it looks like it's going to be between you, Kings, and Brad. Brad's got a pretty big lead right now, but 5 more races to go. Anything that can happen. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm not sure what happened to Ryan there. It looked like he fell off at the end there, maybe had an incident. But if I'm gonna chase down Brad for this championship, I'm gonna have to beat him, and it might be a point to where I may have to move him out of the way to start gaining points. But at the same time, I got to be a respectful driver in my own sense, and I want to try and race him like I'd want him to race me. So can't do anything too crazy.
All right, well, we will see how the second half of the season goes, and we'll see you again on Wednesday night.
Sounds good. Y'all take care.
All right, that was your second place finisher, Mark Kalin, and now I believe is the time for Kelly Greenhoe. There he is. DJ, now we've got our third place finisher.
Yes, we do. And Kelly, a good race there for you. A little bit scruffy in qualifying. Were you just not able to get it hooked up, or could you not find the draft, or what was going on?
Yeah, I just wasn't feeling it. Well, not too familiar with this track, so only had this previous week to prepare for it. Had never raced it since then, or this layout before this week. And then we tried a few times. Ryan spun one time when he was in front of me. I tried to follow someone else, and then I spun. And I think with like 6 or 7 minutes to go, I just went and grabbed a snack and a drink and got ready for the race because I didn't think I was going to do much better.
Well, once it got to the race, you really fought your way up through there. And again, that early pit stop strategy paying off for you. That's kind of becoming your calling card here.
Yeah, I always joke, don't give our secret away. And then sure enough, the boys last week jumped ahead of us in the pits and came out in front. It totally works. I don't know if there's a glitch there. No, you don't want to bring up glitches with the whole tire dipping thing this last weekend, but no, just kidding. I've been impressed with my race pace. Usually my qualifying pace is better, than I tend to fall back right away. So I'm happy to put the burners on during the race and get up as far as I can.
Well, a great run again, Kelly. Anybody you'd like to thank here for third place?
Just again, you guys, PRL. Thanks again for putting this on, doing the broadcast week in and week out. Thanks to anyone out there watching, and Ryan, my teammate. I just keep telling him we'll get them. We got some solid points there with third and fourth, except for the 2 in front of us, or the 2 that we don't need in front of us. So it's gonna be a tight battle. I heard you talking about it's up to those 3 for the overalls. I'm now gonna give it my absolute everything to be included in that conversation by week 10.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world, Kelly, and thanks again, and congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Kelly Greenhoe, your third place finisher here today. And that's going to wrap out our coverage of the Circuit Barcelona Catalunya. But don't worry, we are not done yet. That's right. As we are ready to switch things over and get ready for, well, Joey, we've been talking about bull rings, the ultimate bull ring in the form of Lime Rock Park.
Lime Rock Park in the wild jungles of Connecticut, 7 corners, ridiculously high speeds. I've been looking forward to this one on the calendar all season. It's one of my favorite tracks to drive just because it's so high commitment. We're going to be seeing GT4 cars get a little bit of air over the crests. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be wild stuff here.
It's going to be very, very wild stuff. And this is, of course, for the GT4 series. You better get ready for this. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the calendar here for these GT4 cars. This is by far the shortest circuit we will visit over the course of the season. You can see where we've been. We head to Sandown next week, one of the newer tracks here. And then Road America, Brands Hatch, Road Atlanta, and ending everything at Fuji. This has been by far one of my favorite schedules to call, Joey. Absolutely incredible stuff.
And I really hope with it being one of the newest tracks that we don't end up with the field being sanded down just a little bit at Sandown. So everybody, if you haven't bought Sandown yet, in the PRL GT4 Sprint Series, buy Sandown. I want to see you there. I want that to be a big field because that'll be crazy.
Yes, indeed. And let's go ahead and take a look at the points for this GT4 championship. Sean Campbell leading the way and leading so definitively, not losing a single race here over the course of the running. Keith Bonilla, though, in a very, very close battle for second place between Owen Watts and Adam Brockway, only 4 points separating them. And then a tie back there between Diaz and Rob Campbell for fifth place, with Darren Rutherford peeking in there with Carlos Lopez as well, Jerome Bethune and Brian Vorse all in that equation as well, looking for the top 5. Let's go ahead and take a look over at the teams championship as well. In this series, it is Precision Racing Esports leading the way, but only by about 20 points. And in terms of teams championships, that is pretty darn close, leading over Hardpoint by Delta Sport. YS Motorsports GT4 about 30 points behind them, so certainly in the conversation, as is RSR by Butt Kicker. Western Mass Motorsports holds on to 120 points, followed by Lunatic Racing, Thin Line Racing, Throttle Thursdays, 499 Racing, and Mean Guy Racing rounds out your top 10. But we turn our attention now over to qualifying, and, well, it's a little bit of a surprise at the top of the charts. It's Owen Watts leading the way over the dominant Sean Campbell, Darren Rutherford, Rob Campbell, and Adam Brockway rounding out your top 5.
Well, I just saw on my screen that Owen Watts just joined the PRL Discord server, so clearly that is a good luck charm, and that's why Owen Watts is at the top of the timesheets here, but he was at the top of the timesheets for quite a bit last week as well. That was an incredible duel with Sean Campbell last week at Imola. If you missed it, go back and watch that replay because that was awesome. So it's not really a surprise to see Owen Watts finding a little bit of speed here, but the question will be, can he keep Sean Campbell behind this week if he does qualify up there on pole?
Well, it's going to be a little bit easier, I think, for him to be able to do so, as this is such a tight, narrow circuit. I think overtaking going to be at an absolute premium around here, and you really and truly have to try to get yourself as far ahead during qualifying as possible. That's going to be the best way to guarantee a race win.
Here is Mr. Owen Watts. Up the hill, you can see, there it is. There's that air I mentioned. Even that big BMW is getting air over the top of the hill. It's crazy stuff here, crazy margins. Here's Sean Campbell. Might be able to actually steal a little bit of draft from Sean Campbell here through the final corner. He clonks that curb. The margins here are so tight. Don't want to clip the grass either. You'll get a 1X, but Campbell can't improve.
Yeah, not going to be able to improve there is Sean Campbell, but he is going to get out of the way there. We watch him. It is one of the things I think that is going to be crucial here, as opposed to what we've seen so many other times. The draft almost minimal here down the Sam Posey straight. Rob Campbell looks like he's not going to be able to improve, only off by about 1/10 of a second. I did see a little bit of movement there in the back from Matt Knight, who was able to set a personal best time. Still waiting for 2 times to come on the board in the form of Devin Lampke and Brian Hoskins, so we are waiting for them. I've got to say, this looks like it could be a little bit of a breakaway here, Joey, as Watts and Campbell have a gap of about 4 to 5/10 of a second on the rest of the field.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting little thing on the ticker right now. You can see the intervals between every single time. So yeah, you can see 4/10 of a second between first and second, and then we have a whole nother pack, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, and eighth, and ninth, and 10th, and 11th. They're all just right near each other, and then you get a little bit of a gap down to Nicholas Karangis, but look at the top of the timesheets. While I was talking about that, Sean Campbell has jumped Owen Watts now, so the ever so thin margins, it could be either one of these guys on pole, but right now it's Sean Campbell, and that's dangerous because he's hard to beat.
Very, very hard to beat, but the one thing that we did hear talked about just a little bit is the fact that that BMW, which has been so good in a straight line, may not be as dominant here today. We need to have a little bit more of twisting, a little bit more of the twisty bits here to be able to get things going, and it could favor the McLaren, maybe the Aston Martin that we see Carlos Lopez having out there, as it certainly does look like the Aston's going to be very good as 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, all being claimed by that British marquee.
Sean Campbell's doing a great job of representing the big BMWs, but yeah, it's Mercedes, Aston Martin, BMW, or Mercedes, Aston Martin, McLaren, all in the top 10 with just the BMW of Sean Campbell and the BMW of Jerome Berthiaume down there at the bottom of the top 10. So it looks to be a great day for a Mercedes or a McLaren or an Aston Martin. Carlos Lopez is actually the 3rd highest Aston Martin now. Now the 4th highest as Adam Brockway jumps him. But to the line here, this looks like a solid lap, but that time ticks quickly, and unfortunately for him, 8/10 lost there. Not a great lap for Carlos Lopez, but these such tight margins. He's been jumped by Adam Brockway by 22 thousandths of a second.
Well, and let's look at the gap there between Rob Campbell and Keith Bonilla for 4th and 5th. They are separated by a mere thousandth of a second. And Rob Campbell and Darren Rutherford from 4th to 3rd, that's only 4 thousandths of a second. We are talking about absolutely infinitesimal margins. And that's really and truly what happens when you set GT4 cars loose around a 1.5 mile circuit. I mean, that's normally a distance that we see when we're talking about stock car racing.
And there's only 7 corners on this track. That's less than twice of some stock car tracks in terms of corner amounts. It depends on who you ask. Some say Pocono has 6 corners. Well, Lime Rock has 1 more with 7 corners. So this is as close to an oval as you can get on a road course. We've got a few right turns, but for the most part, well, a lot of right turns, but there's a couple of left turns. It's like a reverse oval, counterclockwise. And Darren Rutherford's actually been jumped now. Keith Bonilla in that Mercedes has taken 3rd, so Aston Martin's now 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. But the top 3, there's none of them.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how that plays itself out with only about 4 minutes left to go here in qualifying before we set the field loose on the 40-minute race that we have in store. That's right, just 5 minutes longer around here. Let's talk you through the track conditions because they could be a little bit tricky right now. 107 degrees out on track. Joey, that means that especially with the load that is put through the left side tires around here with the constant, near constant right turns, that's going to throw a loop here for these drivers. I think they're going to have to watch out for tire wear.
They're going to be saying, why couldn't we have the temperatures they had in Barcelona? It was cold in Spain and it's hot in Connecticut. It feels like it's the wrong way around, but Darren Rutherford, he's on a long run here. I don't believe he's brought it back down pit road, so those tires are going to be struggling. I don't know if he's actually going to be able to improve as this run goes on. The fuel load's going to come down, but those left side tires rather, are going to be getting extremely, extremely hot. He's going to be struggling for grip, and he's going to cross the line here, not even going to be close to improving. So I don't know what Darren Rutherford can do other than bring it down pit road again, but with only 2 minutes 40 left to go, I think it's too late for that. So he's probably stuck here in 4th.
Well, I have to think here that maybe one of the things Rutherford is thinking of is just trying to use this as a little bit of an extended practice time to try to see how long he can eke that out a little bit, just keep that growing. Although it's not necessarily favoring him there. You saw a little bit of a wide run there coming out of the right-hander. He's going to have to be careful as now he works his way up the hill. Here's Owen Watts, your current driver at the top of the charts. Is there Adam Brockway able to put in a time good enough for P3?
Owen Watts getting a little bit of air over the top of the hill. Can he find speed late in the session? Nobody else but Adam Brockway has been able to. He needs 59 thousandths of a second. The McLaren, it physically looks more nimble, but Sean Campbell has been wrestling that BMW around very, very quickly, and Watts brings it to the line, still can't improve. 51.8. He's going to get 2 more shots at it, maybe 3 more shots at it, depending on how these laps are timed, but second place might not be a bad place if he can stick it around the outside in turn 1, or if Campbell makes a mistake. Keith Bonilla also unable to improve. Adam Brockway's found something mythical because nobody else seems to be able to beat their times.
No, it's really pretty incredible here, and I will say track temperatures have dipped ever so slightly, dropping down to 106 degrees Fahrenheit. It's about 77 degrees in the air temperature right now, 62% humidity, and it is categorized as cloudy. So that's hopefully going to help a little bit there. There you can see that air from Keith Bonilla. And, we've been kind of talking about the fantastic shots that you see coming over that hill, Joey, but I've got to be very, very concerned if I'm a driver during the race coming up over that. If you try to get a little bit offline there, it can get real hairy real quick.
And there is a very hard wall on the inside there, so if you lose the rear, you're not saving it. You are going to be in a very, very large accident, so it is always worrying. As Keith Bonilla does improve. Wow, jumps Adam Brockway there, but yeah, over the top of the hill, that's one of the most dangerous parts of the track, especially on those opening laps on cold tires. It is so easy to overcorrect, and it's so easy to lose and kill your race literally instantly.
Yeah, very, very much so. And you see there just the narrow margins. That was Lyndon Swaby there behind Watts in the Mercedes, just catching air and catching some grass, too, as he worked his way around. As now there goes the 14, just catching a little bit of grass there on the outside, pushing the edges as much as possible. As the clock ticks down, he'll have one more bite at the apple here if he wants it, and it looks like he's going to go for it, trying to maximize the time that he's going to be able to go.
And that would have been an off track if he did that on his actual fast lap. So he needs to be careful here. If he is going to improve, you cannot dip a wheel off in the grass through the final corner because your lap will be disallowed. But final shot here for Owen Watts. It's hard to find mistakes in qualifying laps. And yeah, Owen Watts, he's already seen he's not improving. So he's going to park it, and that'll put him second. And old Keith Bonilla in third. Jerome Bertiome's going to stay 10th as well. Only a 20-car field for tonight. I don't know where everybody is. It's a free track. It's Lime Rock. You guys show up.
And maybe people are a little bit scared about coming out here around Lime Rock, but that is going to wrap up our qualifying session, and it's going to bring us to our starting grid here in just a few moments. Keith Bonilla, the last driver out on track, just trying to put in as much practice time as he can. I do kind of love that mentality of just trying to be able to take advantage of it. And, one of the good things about this being a shorter track is you can memorize it a little bit quicker, but I think everybody knows this very, very intimately.
Everybody knows it, but everybody also knows how easy it is to make a mistake because it's all grass around here. There's no runoff anywhere. If you put a wheel off, you're going to be in the grass, and the grass is going to suck you off the track, and you're going to be flailing around for about 15 seconds trying to get back on the track. So this place bites the smallest mistakes, but luckily for Sean Campbell and Owen Watts, our two leaders right now, they have not made a lot of mistakes this season. So I'd expect them to keep it on the black stuff, and I'd expect quite a duel between them two.
Would expect it as well, and that's exactly what we're going to be in store for. Sean Campbell and Owen Watts starting off on the front row. Behind them, it'll be Keith Bonilla and Adam Brockway, both for YS Motorsports. Darren Rutherford and Rob Campbell will line up behind them in 5th and 6th. Following them, it'll be 7th, Carlos Lopez, followed by 8th of Lyndon Swaby. Matthias Arunga will line up in 9th, followed by Jerome Bertome in P10. 11th place will be Blake Ziti, and Andrew Venaro will be to his outside in 12th place. 13th is going to be Matt Knight, followed by Marco Oliveira with Nicholas Carangis and Jeffrey Seebach there in 16th. Then it'll be Jacob Kruger and Matt Dinsmore making up row 9. Behind them, it is going to be Brian Hoskins. It will be Devin Lampke, rather, and Brian Hoskins rounding out your 20-car field here at Lime Rock.
20 cars and Western Mass Motorsport, quite a few of them, rather, in the field tonight. This has got to feel like a little bit of a home race up here in New England. Western Massachusetts, not the closest to Connecticut geographically, No, it is. I put Rhode Island and Connecticut the wrong way around in my head. So basically a home race for them. They're looking for a big result here.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for a big result, and I think everybody going to be looking for a result that they can just kind of avoid any major incidents, any major accidents. That's going to be the biggest thing to see as they go. We've talked about already just how easy it is to run afoul of this track. Almost no run off the grass, just begging you to come out and make a mistake.
Those mistakes will definitely come somewhere in the field, but it's just a question of who can keep it on the track, who can stay up front. Keith Bonilla and Adam Brockway have been so quick in practice, but Brockway specifically, he's had a few issues over the course of this season. He's had speed, but he's made some mistakes that have fallen him afoul of the results that he needs. So I don't know. We'll see if he can keep it on the road. We'll see if Keith Bonilla, who's up in the top 3, I think for the first time this season, can break up the armada up front, or is it going to be just another battle like we saw last week? If it is, that's still pretty good, because that was a heck of a battle, but I'd like to see 3, 4, 5, a lot of drivers involved.
I would too, and we're seeing a lot of love for Keith in our YouTube chat, and thank you so much to everybody that is joining right now. Love to see that. If you're cheering for another driver out there, go ahead and shout him out in the chat. We are checking that. As drivers work their way over the hill now for the first time here, this time not in anger, but it will be very, very shortly that we will let these cars loose as they work their way down the hill now, slowly but surely, working their way around, waiting for the iRacing pace car to pull off down pit lane and give control of the field over to Sean Campbell. Drivers behind weaving a little bit. Track is cooled down to 102 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's going to make things a little bit easier for these drivers. But we watch up front. Sean Campbell and Owen Watts. Will the Titanic battle continue? We don't have long to wait. All eyes go to Barney the Flagman, and there goes the green. It's a brilliant start for Sean Campbell. He's already got about a car length and a half of an advantage there as he works his way down into the corner side by side between the YS Motorsports teammates there behind as they fly down into the first corner for the first time. Everybody looked like they've sorted themselves out relatively well. No big incidents and accidents as Campbell tries to sort his way and smooth his way up through the field.
Very, very good start by Sean Campbell. The perfect start. He needed to do that to get Owen Watts off his back, but now, just like last week, Owen needs to stick to the back of Sean, wait for a hint of a mistake, peek to the inside anywhere you can, and attempt to go for the move. As Rob Campbell in the background we were riding with is having a pretty solid run, but here's Owen Watts, the man of the hour, through the final corner. The McLaren has seemed more planted here, but can it have a better run down the straight? Last week it was the BMW who was better in a straight line, and looks like it's the same case right now.
Yes, it does, but the draft helping out a little bit for Owen Watts. They now dive down through the right-handed corner for the second time, trying to see what they are able to do. Owen Watts able to keep that gap down to about 0.3 of a second. They are dropping as we've got a car off in the back. That's Lyndon Swaby getting the braking zone wrong, going down into 1 and taking a little excursion.
And I have a feeling, though, when we see the replay of that, it's going to be exactly what I've done so many times in closed-wheeled cars at this track. Just out-braking. Yep, exactly that. You just wash out a little bit too much on the exit of 1, and then as you switch to the second half of the corner, you just clip that grass, and it takes you way, way off. And that's going to be literally the back of the field for Lyndon Swaby. Luckily, it's only a 19-car field, so he doesn't have much to drive through, but that's going to be disappointing for Lyndon.
Yes, it is. As there they go now, crossing over the line again. These laps are going to come at you fast. They're going to come at you furious. And the past 2 laps have been the fastest lap of the race there for Sean Campbell. Owen Watts trying to keep that gap as close as possible. It has grown to about 1.2 seconds there between Watts and Brockway as they move down now through the right-handers of this track. We haven't seen any big problems going for any drivers up and over the jump quite yet, but rest assured that may come out to catch a few drivers here a little bit later on. Starting to grow a little bit between Brockway and Bonilla. Bonilla having fallen back 1 place at the start. He's got to watch out a little bit behind because Rob Campbell certainly would love to take that 4th place away from him.
Looks like there might have been some trouble for Kruger in the background. We'll have to take a look at that when we can, but again, same thing. Owen Watts seems to be quicker through the final corner, but the McLaren just does not really have the legs to get a run. He's going to peek to the inside, but he's nowhere near close enough to go for a move into turn 1. He needs Sean Campbell to make a mistake, I think, through turn 6 to just kill his run completely, and then that'll be when Owen Watts is able to take advantage, because everywhere else on the track, it's such a low percentage move that if Owen even tries to go for it, I think he's going to be taking both of them out. So he's very clearly quick. The McLaren is very clearly the better of the two cars in the corners, but so frustratingly, as it always is, the BMW's faster in the only place where it really matters.
Yeah, on that long straightaway there, and I love that we were able to catch it on board coming up and over the jump there. You saw that just immediate straightening out of the steering wheel. That's what you've got to do if you have even the slightest bit of steering lock coming through there. It can throw you off. 0.2 of a second down to 1/10.5 here on the main straightaway. Owen Watts thinking about a move to the inside. Little bit of a defensive line there from Rob Campbell as he's going to sweep around the outside and hold that McLaren at bay. I think we're going to be seeing this a lot over the course of this race. Maybe a little bit of a look there in the left hook, but it's not going to happen.
That was very promising, though, for Owen Watts to get that close. It's looking great for him to be able to stick to the back of Sean Campbell, but making the move is a whole nother story. Sean Campbell just does not make mistakes. We saw him in our broadcast of the Spot 24 a few days ago. He is a very, very high caliber GT driver in GT3 and GT4 machinery, and we've not seen him make a mistake all season. So if Owen Watts is going to want to make the move, it needs to be absolutely perfect. But the clog of the curve there, that's going to allow Owen Watts to get close, but again, it's just not fast enough in the straight.
No, just doesn't quite have the legs. He's going to have to take a very, very big move down to the inside. And normally at this point, I would say that we'd be looking at maybe some alternate pit strategy to play out here. But the truth of the matter is Sean Campbell has been perfect when it comes to pit strategy over the course of this season. And we've not really seen him make any mistakes. And indeed, he's been able to gain a lot of time in the course of the pit cycle. Now, the other thing that could come back to play here a little bit, that could be a little bit interesting, is we are going to have to deal with some pretty massive amounts of traffic, I have to think, over the course of this race. And that could be the opportunity here that Owen Watts needs.
Well, luckily it is a short field. Looks a little bit like a real-life GT4 race at Lime Rock in some cases, but Jacob Kruger, that's the right J name. He's out of the race. Matt Knight's out of the race. There's only 17 cars left. It's not going to be a lot of traffic. I think they'll reach Matt Dinsmore. They'll probably reach the likes of Hoskins and Seebach, but everybody else, I think, will have basically no trouble staying on the lead lap. So I don't think we'll have to worry about it too much, which is good for both of these guys. They'll be able to have a clean race. They'll be able to battle it driver versus driver, but it's a little bit worse for us because lap traffic spicing things up could be pretty entertaining, but we'll have to wait for next week when hopefully some more people show up.
Yeah, we will indeed as they climb their way up and over the jump one more time there. And this is really one of the best battles that we have out on track right now. We really want to keep our eyes here because this battle for the lead, absolutely electric. And I've got to say here that it looks like that jump the curve by Sean Campbell is deliberate. He's done that about the last 3 or 4 laps. So that is certainly something that he knows to do and wants to keep doing. And it looks like there that Owen Watts just absolutely not able to get the legs that he really wants to do. As you said, that BMW straight line speed, even around a short 1.5 mile circuit like this, coming back to bite. We jump back in the field, though. That is Matthias Arunga losing a place there to Blake Ziti. Ziti recognizing there was a mistake made by Matthias coming out of the final corner, running a little bit wide onto the grass, and Blake Ziti says, "Thank you very much, I'll take that one."
A little bit of Aston Martin on Aston Martin battling, and now it's Aston Martin on Porsche battling. Andrew Vanaro is the only Porsche up here in the top 10, so he's the last one representing here. But Blake Ziti looks very, very fast right now. He looks like a man on a mission right now. He's already to the back of Vanaro. And then Aston Martin seems to have a little bit of an advantage on the straight here. So through the final corner, they look like very similar cars. The Aston Martin a little bit bigger, and down the straight, he's going to peak to the inside. But no, maybe the Porsche has more legs on the straight than I thought, because Ziti has to stick behind him again. It's a great exit by Vanaro and great defense up there.
Yeah, very good defense by Vanaro, and really one of those things where we watch as they go. Little bit of a look there into the inside, into left hook. You can get a pass done there every once in a blue moon, but you have got to be very, very aggressive to do it, and you really have to be taking advantage of a driver in front of you as they go. And I just we're going to see a lot of this here, Joey, that it's going to be a lot of a situation where drivers have to take advantage when they can of another driver's mistake. And I think because so many drivers know this place very, very well, because, as you mentioned, this is free content here on iRacing, it's going to be hard to get that move done, but nobody told that to Blake Seedy. He's going to take a look down to the inside there of Venaro, going down into the first corner. He's got to be later on the binders, and that's textbook. That's how you get it done.
Venaro close to washing out into the grass there, but well done by him. Getting it slowed down. He lost the position, but he's still the last spot in the top 10, and now he's got another very hungry Aston Martin behind him. He's got Marco Oliveira looking to make up for a disappointing race last week. And that's a big old BMW, fast in a straight line. If Marco Oliveira gets to the back of these Aston Martins and Porsches, look for him to start making moves into turn 1, because he is catching these guys as they fight, and he seems pretty quick right now. I have not seen his most recent lap times, but he is catching the back of that train.
As we check back in on this lead battle, Owen Watts about 0.03 of a second faster on that last lap. He clearly has the speed, but just not where he needs to get it. Trying to see what he can do, trying to see what he's able to get. This has got to be so frustrating for the hard point by Delta Sport driver. We've seen this story play itself out time and time again here for the number 14, tantalizingly close to Sean Campbell and just not able to pull it off.
And I don't know how much fuel saving he can be doing. It's a short lap, but it's a short lap, so you might be able to save a full another lap of fuel if you do just stick behind him here. On the front straight, though, he's not saving fuel. He's going to try and go for the move to the outside. Here comes Owen Watts. The outside's tough to defend, or the outside's tough to make a move here. Campbell on the inside, leaving him room, but it's not working out for Watts. He's going to get washed out. No, he tried to make it around the outside, but it is almost impossible to go around the outside when you're equal on pace with the guy ahead.
Yeah, it very much is. And one of the things we haven't really talked about is the nature of that first corner, that it is a little bit off camber when you get to the outside. The track does crown a little bit there, so if you try to run around the outside, it can slip away from you quite easily, and you've got to be applying a little bit more steering lock as you go through there, so that makes it even more difficult to try to make that pass. But I think this is exactly what Campbell needs to do, just try to keep up the pressure as much as possible. Both of them picking up a little bit of grass there. This is one of the closer advantages we've seen. Again, that's going to be Campbell coming down to the inside, making that defensive move, making Watts do this the hard way.
The hard way for Owen Watts, and yeah, he wasn't even able to get alongside that time. I think he thought better of trying to wash around the outside. He just got back in line, and now he just sits here and waits for 5 more corners until he finally gets another shot. And there's Marco Oliveira. I don't know if he got through Matias Arangua or Matias Arangua made a mistake and lost the position, but one way or another, Oliveira is through. And yeah, there's Matias, got off into the grass, trying to save it, trying to decide where to go. And Marco says, thank you very much. I'll take the 2-for-1 special. I will take the top 10 here.
Yep, that's what he does. Looks like there was a little bit of a thought of a fight back there, but it's not going to play out as well as he would like it to, and they're going to stay in single file order now as they work their way around, trying to see what they're able to get here. We check back in on the battle for the lead as it stays in the same way that we've seen it.
And these guys have been fighting hard. It almost seems like Owen Watts is getting held up, but they're both so much faster than the guys behind you. There's a tandem of Brockway and Bonilla now 3 seconds back. There's a tandem of Campbell and Rutherford almost 7 seconds back. And then there's a duo of Lopez and Bergione 10 seconds back. And there's the rest of the field. So it's a very separated field tonight. A lot of different levels of speed, a lot of different levels of comfort, a lot of different setups in the field as well. But we've got a very entertaining tandem here up front, and it looks like it's going to be more of the same here through the final corner. Big clobber again by Campbell. We've seen him do it so many times. And Owen Watts, is he going to peek to the outside again? Yep. No, he switched to the inside. Late move, but not able to scare Campbell offline. It's hard to scare Campbell offline.
Yeah, it's very hard to scare Campbell offline. Sean knows exactly how to defend around here, just keeping that car to the inside and doing absolutely everything that he can to be able to keep that number 14 at bay. little bit of a scruffy moment there coming out of left hook. You saw that BMW bounce a little bit. I think he is really having to push to the utmost extremes here, trying to be able to get everything as much as possible. It is really, really remarkable to just withstand this defense here. Again, Sean Campbell showing his worth.
BMW, it's like a trampoline. It doesn't stop bouncing after the first curb hit. It like keeps bouncing for another 100 feet. It's incredible that he's able to wring such speed out of it. But here's that secondary battle, Mercedes versus Aston Martin, Brockway versus Bonilla. That's a late dive for Bonilla. Hard to make that work, but I think he has forced Adam Brockway off into a mistake, and he almost puts a wheel in the grass. He has to lift, and that's how Bonilla gets by. With mere mortals, it's easy to spook a driver like that and get by him, but unfortunately for Owen Watts, Sean Campbell is a little bit of an alien, as looks like we've lost Lyndon Swaby in the pits as well.
Yeah, remember, Swaby was one of those drivers that had that issue early on, and now he has opted to disconnect from the session, and I am getting that official report. By the way, that battling that you saw there between Bonilla and Brockway has allowed for this gap to expand up to about 3.5 seconds right now as they run. So very, very close action there between the two.
And this is actually the furthest back that Owen Watts has been in the last couple laps. He's not even close enough to dummy a move to the inside or the outside, as again the BMW just pogos up and down about 10 times through that first section of the corner. It is such a bouncy car, and you wouldn't think it was fast doing that, but it is. It's very fast. It's remarkable. Owen Watts just tantalizingly close still. It's almost bumper to bumper, but there's really only one passing zone on this track, and he needs Sean Campbell to make a mistake through the final corner. He needs the BMW to do something weird through the final corner, or look up front a few seconds ahead. Matt Dinsmore, they are going to catch him. So Owen's hoping that the lap traffic of Matt Dinsmore does something unfortunate for Sean Campbell. I imagine he won't. Lap cars are usually pretty courteous here in the PRL, but crazier things have happened, and Owen Watts is hoping they do.
Well, on a track like this, there's only so much courtesy that you can really display when you're running around here, as it is so close and so tight all the way across the board. We look back here to another battle. This is the battle for the top 10 right now. Marco Oliveira and Matthias Arunga. Arunga going to dive down to the inside there, think a little bit better of it, but they're going to give a little bit of how you do. Going down to the first corner, Arunga giving the bumper a little bit to Oliveira, and that's going to send the Aston Martin on through.
I don't think that was intentional, but that was contact, and that did shove Marco Oliveira out of the way. He was very close to getting off into the grass, almost like Adam Brockway was a little bit earlier, had to completely lift out of it. If I was Matthias Arungua, I'd give that position back, because I did kind of force Marco out of the way, but looks like he's just going to try and run off into the distance, and that's not going to make Marco very happy. He's going to want that position back, and he's fast in a straight line, so I would be very unsurprised to see him have another shot here into turn one through the final corner. He's going to have a run. He's got a fast car, but is he close enough to send it here? I don't think he is, unless he does what Matthias did.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there, as they do go down into the corner, and it doesn't look like he has any intention of giving that spot back. That may be something that admins will look at after the race, but we will see. By the way, I can report up at the front of the field, Matt Dinsmore did show that courtesy that we talked about, getting off to the side of the track on the main straightaway and letting the battling leaders on through.
And speaking of organizers, Marco Oliveira is one of the organizers of the PRL. He's one of the biggest dogs of the big dogs in the PRL. So if anybody's got a stake here, it is Marco, and he won't race him too hard if he's trying to stay alive here. He'll fall back. And the battle for the lead rages on. It's actually bigger than it's ever been. 0.3 of a second now. Watts has been basically to the bumper of Sean Campbell this whole time. It's only been about a tenth and a half between the two of them, and now could he be falling back a little bit? Or is this deliberate? He's trying to cool himself down a little bit? Is he trying to save a little bit of fuel? I don't know, but the gap has doubled to an absolutely massive gap of 0.3.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about Lime Rock, that is pretty much the extent of maybe a second gap at Spa, for example, as they run their way out of the corner. Right now, it's coming down to about 2.5 tenths here as they cross up the start-finish line on the Sam Posey straightaway. Watts just trying to keep up here behind. The other thing to talk about with all of this, remember, this may be a little bit of a situation where we talk about some tire wear. Maybe Watts is just trying to hold back here a little bit, hold on to a little bit of those tires later on in the race. We could be dealing with a tire wear situation. So we're about 2 minutes away from the halfway point. The track temperatures has stayed solid here at about 102 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's actually come down a little bit. I think it was 107 in qualifying, so it's a little bit cooler, but it's not gonna have much effect as Sean Campbell again just puts 2 wheels in the air. You're not getting much drive with only 2 wheels on the ground, but luckily the BMW makes up for it. Watts is gonna peek to the inside. He's gonna go for the dive again. But again, Sean Campbell knows that he's not gonna be able to make that move actually stick, and he just brakes normally, stays ahead, and yeah, Owen Watts, he's only going to be able to make the move if he's actually alongside, and he was not actually alongside, unfortunately. I joke about 0.3 of a second being a massive gap, but now it has fallen to the normal gap of 1.5 tenths, and I think I saw Brian Hoskins spun in the background there as well, so crazy stuff happening everywhere.
Yeah, not sure what happened to Hoskins there. That looked like he was a little bit off going down into the first corner. There is the 520 on your screen. We'll have to see exactly what happened. Ooh, just got out into the grass coming out of left hook, and that spun him around. A little bit of contact there with the outside barriers. And there you see just a little bit too much momentum there through the right-hander, and that was enough to get that left rear tire out onto the grass, and that was a day around there for Brian Hoskins.
And that's so easy to do in that corner. You're trying to carry as much momentum as humanly possible, just like you are at basically every corner on the track. That's exactly what I was talking about at the start of the race. The grass bites, you make one mistake, but Sean Campbell is cool and calculated. You saw as he just drove through that curve there. There was like a millimeter between his left front wheel and the grass, and that's not a mistake. That is completely intentional. He knows the limits here. And it is just incredible to watch this BMW get so close to throwing it out of the park to ending up in the Atlantic Ocean. But no, Sean Campbell is just completely calculated. He knows exactly what he's doing, and it is spectacular to watch as Owen Watts continues to chase them with a little bit worse of a run down the front straight this time.
Yeah, and again, that is really and truly the sign of a spectacular driver, is just being able to be that pixel perfect time in and time out, lap after lap after lap. You so often see the very best being able to push that limit as much as possible, and it is really and truly Sean Campbell just showing how good of a driver he really and truly is.
I want somebody to take a screenshot next time we see that shot through turn 4, turn 5, whichever one that is. I'll have to count them, but it's just incredible to see him get so close to the grass there. Through here as well, Owen Watts is doing the same thing. He's playing with the same margins, but he's just not able to get alongside here in this critical corner to be able to make the move. But you can see these guys are in a league of their own. You can't even see Keith Bonilla or Adam Brockway in the same shot. I guess you can. There's a couple yellow and black pixels in the background, but yeah, these two are in a league of their own right now.
Yeah, they really and truly are, and now as they come up behind, they are going to, I think, maybe catch Nicholas Carangis here before the end of the race. He's about 10 seconds up the road, but the pace that set him, they should certainly be able to catch. We do have our first pit stop, by the way, in the form of Rob Campbell. Rob Campbell in the Aston Martin number 93 is the first one to come down pit lane.
Just past halfway here, so it's about the expected time, but both of these guys, Campbell and Watts, I think they're going to go as long as they possibly can. Watts might be able to go a lap longer if he's been saving fuel. I don't know if he has, so I expect him and Campbell to come down at exactly the same time, and it'll be a race off pit road just like it was last week, but probably a couple more laps time for them. They're going to go as long as possible. They don't need to pull any strategy to jump anybody. They don't need to come in early. They can wait for as long as possible, and they probably will, just like last week.
Yes, exactly, and so that is the strategy that we normally see play out here. We normally tend to not see the strategy differentials that we do in the MX-5 series. It tends to be hold it out as late as possible and hold that out. The gap, though, now between Campbell and Watts holding at about 3.5 tenths of a second. It does look like Watts is losing a little bit of ground. And Joey, I would normally say you maybe want to try to look at an undercut here if you are Watts, but I'd be very, very concerned about coming out into the mix of slower lap traffic. And around Lime Rock, that could be a death knell.
And that's the problem with this field being so separated this week. It's going to be extremely difficult to come out not in lap traffic. I'm going to look at the pit lane delta for Rob Campbell. It was 32.8 seconds. So if Campbell pits right now, he's going to come out around Andrew Vanaro, around Marco Oliveira, and that is going to be him getting held up in a very big way. So you want to wait as long as possible. You want to make sure you're not getting out in traffic, and when there's about 12 different tandems here, or 7 different tandems with 14 cars left in the race, you're guaranteed to find traffic when you pit. So these guys are going to wait until they're the last ones on track, and hopefully they won't run into anybody, and they will be able to battle cleanly, continuously for the lead amongst themselves.
Yeah, that is going to be the hope here for these drivers. Is again, that hop of the curb just always scares me so much, Joey. And yet the 26 is able to do it time and time again with absolute consistency. A defensive move there from Watts, a little bit coming down, or from Campbell rather, coming down into the corner. Watts looking his way through, trying to see if there's a way to get by that BMW M4. Not seeing it though here.
And that defense tells me that Sean Campbell knows that when it comes to it, Owen Watts is going to try and send it to the inside there, because that's the way to make the move. That's basically the only way you can make that move into turn 1. And the fact that Campbell chose to defend there, he didn't just choose to run in his line and hope that Owen Watts stayed behind. That means he knows that Owen's going to try and go for the move here. There's no fuel-saving strategy. There's no sticking behind here. Watts is on 100% attack mode here, and he wants to make this move. Let's see, do either of them bring it down pit road this time? Nope, they don't. And Owen Watts is a little bit too far back to go for that dive again. So I don't think Campbell will defend to the inside this time. Yeah, same thing. He knows that Watts isn't close enough. He knows he's not going to be able to go for the move. But when he does get closer, you're going to see that big defense again.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about that. You're going to see that move as it gets a little bit closer here as we wait to see. We've seen a couple of little peaks there from Watts going down to the left hook, but again, about 3.5 tenths of a second behind right now. Not really enough to be able to make that work. He's just trailing behind here, seeing if he can find an errant mistake to be gained. They have closed down all the way up to Rob Campbell now, who has come out in the back of the field. About 5 seconds up the road to Campbell, about 6 seconds up the road to Nicholas Carangis. So they will probably catch lap traffic before the end of the 15 minutes are up here.
And Rob Campbell, he's made his stop, so he'll be able to cycle a little bit further forward, but nobody else has stopped. So Carangis is legitimate lap traffic. Seabach is legitimate lap traffic. And look, in the back, Bonilla and Brockway, 3rd and 4th. The pitters have begun their pitting. And that means that I think that Sean Campbell and Owen Watts will probably bring it in the next time around. But yeah, everybody coming in. Bonilla, Brockway, Lopez, Bertiome goes through. I think ZD's coming in. Lots of drivers coming in, and whole field should be coming in soon.
Yeah, I've got to think we're reaching the end of the fuel window here as they come down, trying to see when these leaders are going to pit. We could see them come down here, but this is one of the better runs we've seen from Owen Watts. He's got that gap under 2 tenths of a second as they work their way out of the final corner. Neither driver coming down pit lane, but they are going to run into a little bit of lap traffic. That's going to be Carlos Lopez directly up ahead of them. Could this be a little bit of an opportunity here? Not looking at it there for Owen Watts, but he certainly just continues to dig and try to find that. Darren Rutherford coming down pit lane. He's going to be the latest.
Darren Rutherford brings it down, and I think the reason they didn't come in on that last lap is because of what we talked about a little bit earlier, the lap trap, or the further back traffic that have not been lapped yet. If Watts and Campbell did come down pit road, Arangua didn't come in, Oliveira didn't come in, so they would have been in traffic. But now that they are coming in, now that ZD's in, Rutherford's in, Arangua's in, Venaro's in, Campbell and Watts do have a safe place to come out. And I think through the final corner this time, I was wrong on my prediction on the last lap, but now they do have a window of clean track to bring it down pit road. But no, they're going to go one more time. They're going to wait for Marco Oliveira to bring it down pit road to have a completely clean track to come back out on.
I mean, better to be safe than sorry, I'd have to think here if you are these drivers. You don't want to throw anything away from this battle at all. It does look like Watts has lost a little bit of time. That gap hovering now at about 0.4 of a second in between the two as they go, waiting to see what's going to be able to pop off here. No really close battles. Jerome Berthiaume pulling it down pit lane right now. He is going to be in from third place.
I expect in about 10 seconds time, that was the gap between him and, yep, there goes Marco. Jerome and Marco both down pit road, so Campbell and Watts have an open window of clean track. They don't have clean track ahead of them, so if they stay out for much longer, they're going to run into traffic. So the best order of action, best course of action is to bring it down pit road. Noah Watts agrees. He's going to be the first taker. And now we wait for Sean Campbell to come back around. They were able to meet in the middle at Imola last time. We had a battle to the end of the race, but in every other race this season, after the pit stop, Campbell has just run away. So we'll see if it's more of the same this time.
We watch here as Watts brings the McLaren down to pit road, stops in the box. No problems there for the hard point by Delta Sport driver. Waiting to get that fuel into the car. No tires taken here over the course of this run. That's not what we tend to see. Good stop there, 13.7 seconds. That is one of the faster stops that we've seen and would make sense. Watts able to extend that a little bit longer than most of the rest of the field. Crucially, he's going to come out in some clean air.
Now we wait for Sean Campbell. Should be in about 5 seconds time. Here he comes. But he's going to have a lap car in front of him. He's going to have Nicholas Coran just holding him up on the pit entry. He was able to get through him there, so he's lucky he didn't get held up as much as he possibly could. Nicholas doing a very, very kind favor there, getting out of the way of the leader as he brings it down pit road. But in a battle that was separated by 1/10 and a half, that might have just been 1/10 and a half, and that might be exactly what Owen Watts needed. But now he's sit and wait.
Yes, it is. Watts working his way down out of the final corner as the clock ticks. Whoa, that's a quick stop for Sean Campbell. 11.9 seconds there for your leader, and he is going to come out by a country mile in front of Owen Watts.
Well, there's the Sean Campbell magic. It's back, gang. 1.5 seconds ahead of Owen Watts in the pit lane, but now Campbell has actually come out right behind the number 19. That's Jeffrey Seebach. Gets out of the way as well as he can, so that didn't help Owen Watts very much. Now Owen is actually going to have to get by Jeffrey himself, and it looked like Brian Hoskins wrecked on the front straight as well. I believe that was the huge cloud of smoke we saw as Sean Campbell drove by, but yeah, 1.5 seconds. Sean must have been saving fuel down the front straight every single time, and that must have been how Owen Watts was getting so close.
If he was able to save fuel and keep ahead, my goodness gracious, I don't want to know what the outright pace of that number 26 BMW is. But Jeffrey Seebach getting out of the way there for Owen Watts, leaving that open for him to try to catch down on Sean Campbell. I can tell you there that on that last lap, it did look like Campbell was able to go a little bit faster. We're going to check back a little bit farther in the field. This is Jerome Berthiaume there. Matthias Arunga, this is the battle for 9th place.
Matthias moving his way forward. He muscled Jerome's teammate Marco Oliveira out of the way. I'm sure Jerome's looking in his mirrors, hoping, please don't do the same thing to me. Please, if you're going to make the pass, do it without contact. I might even just let you by if we're just fighting for the last couple spots in the top 10. But with only 9 minutes to go, I don't think Jerome's going to be too nice here. I don't think he's going to just let him by. He wants this 9th place, but Matthias has been quite fast after the pit stops. Looking at the difference between their stops, Jerome was actually in the box for 8 more seconds than Matthias was. So that's why we see Jerome in 9th instead of in, where was he before, 7th or 8th. So yeah, it's been an unfortunate time on pit road for Jerome, but he looks like he is definitely faster than Matthias. So he should be able to run away if he doesn't make any more mistakes.
Well, that is the key here around Lime Rock, as there we get a bird's eye view of Jerome in his sim racing setup with those triple screen monitors, certainly helping him out there to be able to keep that car pointed the right way. And you can see that gap starting to expand a little bit as they run. It's up to about 4.5 of a second. Obviously going to Constantina a little bit under braking, but Jerome probably has this relatively under lock here. We've seen the strength of that BMW in capable hands. I certainly know that Jerome has those very capable hands.
Matthias was a little bit faster on the last lap. 7:47 for Jerome, 4:97 for Matthias, so there's clearly pace in the Aston Martin, but we know Jerome has more pace in that car, and we know he should be further up the order than he is, so he really doesn't want to be fighting with Mr. Arangulo right now for 10th, but he's really not able to get away. It's about the same gap as it was in the last lap. He's not clobbering the curb the same that Sean Campbell is in the same car, but yeah, the straight line speed for the BMW is really the advantage here. Matthias is able to stick with him, but he's not able to stick with him where it really matters on the straight going into turn 1.
Yeah, he's really and truly not. As looks like, all right, they're going to be able to clear Matt Dinsmore up ahead in the front of the field. So that was one concern that I had that was potentially going to pop its way in there. But yeah, it looks like that gap there between Jerome and Matthias up to about 0.7 of a second as Jerome's able to put the power down there, coming out of that sequence of first corners, flying up over the hill. That's not what you want to do, but Matthias follows him through out onto the grass. That almost got a little bit hairy.
The old target fixation. The driver in front of you makes a mistake that they haven't made all race, and suddenly you're making exactly the same mistake. It was a great save by Matthias there, but Jerome just got a little bit wide, got a little bit of air, almost hit the wall, and Matthias did exactly the same thing in an even worse way, and that's going to be great for Jerome, actually, because his mistake has been forgiven, and he's been gifted with an even bigger gap where he can try and run away a little bit further forward and maybe even catch Blake Ziti, who he has been 0.3 faster than per lap.
Yeah, he's definitely been able to close up on Ziti there a little bit, but Jerome now is going to breathe a lot easier as he has over a second over Matthias and that number 4 machine. So that's going to be very, very good breathing room. That's effectively out of the draft range here, even though on a shorter straight like this, you're looking at more about 7/8 of a second where you really want to be in that good draft range. But we're going to keep our eyes focused here. This is our closest battle out on track right now, as that battle for the lead has really separated itself out, still hovering at about 2 seconds here, waiting to see if Jerome's going to be able to close a little bit more on Ziti. They're going to cross over the line, and he pulls a full 0.5 of a second out on Ziti. Jerome Berthiaume on a charge.
Blake's got to start looking back here because there's going to be a black and blue BMW attacking him very soon. Ziti's almost losing it through turn 3 there. That's going to be very helpful for Jerome. That's another 0.5 second already gone through the first 3 corners of the track. Ziti almost out of control through the first part of the lap. I think he knows that Jerome is back there, and I think that was the first mistake he's made all race.
I think it was as well, but that mistake could prove to be a little bit dire here with about 5 minutes left to go in the race. Let's call it 6, maybe 7 more laps, depending on where the leaders are out on track. A little bit of a wide run there for Jerome as he came out of the start finish, as he crosses over to the start finish line there, waiting to see. It's another 0.5 of a second taken out. Jerome just on an absolute charge. He's got it down under a second.
Rob Campbell is down pit road as well. If you can see on the side of your screen in 14th. I don't know what happened to him, but it's a disaster for Rob Campbell. He went for the undercut strategy. It's not like he ran out of fuel. Oh, but Ziti has run out of room on the track. And that's what happens when you clip the grass. There goes Blake. There goes Matthias through as well. It's a costly mistake for Blake Ziti there. Just barely clipped the grass.
Yeah,
but this is the first mistake he made here.
Yeah, this is the replay there of that first mistake. Joey just runs a little bit wide. You see him have to catch it there. And then he's going to come back through here into the right-hander. And this is where it all just goes to naught. Catches it there on the outside. We've seen a couple of drivers make that mistake here today. So easy when you're trying to carry so much momentum there and you just run the car a little bit wide.
It was well held, though, on the grass. He was lucky he didn't go any worse, but it's going to be 9th place now for Blake. Unless he can fight back on Matthias. He hasn't been faster than the 4, though, so I'd expect this to be a 9th place finish for Blake Ziti if he doesn't throw it off the road again. Oh, luckily he kept it in a straight line there, but he is pushing everything he has right now. And also, I think the Rob Campbell thing, I thought it might be a penalty, but no, he's out of the race now. He's stuck in the pits, so I don't know what happened to Rob Campbell, but whatever it was, it's unfortunate. He's going to leave today with a 15th place finish.
Yeah, and I'm seeing there that he is actually disconnected from the server right now. Nicholas Karangis now also coming down pit lane. Not sure what that is. We'll maybe try to get a little bit of an update there as he is just stationary there in the pits, is the 311. So maybe just feeling this day a little bit too long and opting to come down into the pits. Well, here's a replay here of exactly what happened. Oh, did he catch the jump wrong? Little bit too much. No, he was able to get it right. So I'm not sure what happened here to Nicholas. He's
right side damage. So was it through the final corner, or this is a bizarre incident?
He gets a little bit sideways there, catches that. Oh, he spun it around. Oh, big clobber into the wall.
Well, luckily for him, he's right there where pit road is, so he didn't have to go very far. But that's a hard pit entry. He's going to have to Eric Almirola it and drive it backwards to get it back in the pit lane. But yeah, he does eventually. Nicholas Karangis going to finish 14th. He was already 14th, but unfortunately for him, he's going to finish 14th with quite a bit more damage than he had before. And here's Owen Watts. He's actually been able to close the gap down by a couple tenths, but unfortunately, those couple tenths, he needs about 17 more of them.
Yeah, he does, and as they cross over the line, I believe that's going to be 3 laps to go there for the leaders. We're going to focus back here again on Jerome Bertium as this battle with Matthias Arunga not going away. We thought he was going to be able to drive off into the distance there a little bit, but Matthias has done a fantastic job of being able to keep this battle a little bit close, and he continues to put pressure here on one of the PRL Series organizers in the form of Jerome.
And if Matthias can get close enough, we saw what he did to Marco Oliveira. He's not afraid to send a dive into turn 1. But this time by, yeah, still too far back. Half a second. Just does not seem to be fast enough in that Aston Martin. Down the straight, very late in the brakes, very aggressive is Matt Arangua, but still not close enough to Jerome. He's going to need the run of his life out of the final corner.
And I don't know if he is going to get it. Meanwhile, 2 to go signal given to your leader here, Sean Campbell. 2 laps around this 1.5-mile Lime Rock circuit for your number 26 BMW M4 GT4 driver. He has absolutely been in control since the beginning of this race, just looking like he is the class of the field, as he has done so many times over the course of this season.
He has been undefeated this season, and that is going to continue here. A fully undefeated first half of the season. It's never been done before in PRL history, but do we have to start thinking about Sean Campbell going 10 for 10 here?
We very well might. The closest I can think of in terms of the PRL is way back in the halcyon days of the Thursday night series being run with the Indy Pro 2000s. Joshua Chin almost put a perfect season together. Almost was able to do it, but was denied. But right now, white flag in the air. Here comes Matthias trying to make a little bit of a look on Jerome.
But this is not a place where you make an overtake, but he does have one more lap. These guys are so much further back from the leaders that they still have to find the white flag. ZD drives it off the road in the background. He's not going to be a factor here. But here is the run that Matthias needed. He's close. Oh, and ZD crashed. I thought he recovered, but no, ZD's destroyed back there.
Oh, laying prone across the track, and he takes the tow, but we have got to focus back in on the leader because he comes out of the final corner here to take the checkered flag. Sean Campbell, your victor once again, able to win over Owen Watts. And now we focus back on this battle for what is 7th, as this is going to get very hot here in the final couple of corners.
Matthias has almost run out of chances. He's run out of realistic chances, but if he wants to do something desperate, he can send a dive to the inside of Jerome. I can't guarantee it's going to work over the top of the hill. He's got a solid run, but no, as long as Jerome plants his car in the right places here, unless Matthias gets the run of his life through the final corner, I think this position is decided. Let's see through the final corner. Don't throw it off the road now, Jerome, and he's kept it clean. It's going to be P7 for Jerome. Solid result for him, and very well defended against Matthias there.
Yeah, very well defended indeed. Just waiting for Andrew Venaro here, and now waiting for Marco Oliveira to cross over the line. And there is the 44. And just as quick as you please, we are done for the day here at Lime Rock Park. And the question still has to be asked, Joey, can anybody beat Sean Campbell this season?
Owen Watts has come so close so many times, but he just hasn't had the ability to actually get it done at the end of the race. And in the dying laps, I did some digging in the old spreadsheets to see if anybody's had anywhere close to a perfect season. Looks like the most wins anybody's gotten in the season is 8. It's been done a couple times by Carl Modoff, David Holland. Josh Chin got 7 in a season, but Sean Campbell could make history here.
He could indeed, as he was the victor here today. Owen Watts and Keith Bonilla rounding out your podium positions. Adam Brockway and Darren Rutherford in the top 5. Carlos Lopez was 6th, followed by Jerome Berthiaume in 7th. Matthias Arunga in 8th, and Andrew Venaro in 9th, with Marco Oliveira rounding out your top 10. 11th was Jeffrey Seebach, 1 lap down. Blake Ziti, who was 2 laps down following that incident. Now we get into some of the drivers who DNF'd here on the day. Campbell, Karangis, Hoskins, Swaby, Kruger, Knight, and Lampke, who was a DNS. Yeah, that's right, 47 laps completed around here. That is just how quick that everything was flying at you here around this track. And Lime Rock never fails to disappoint in terms of offering up a little bit of that tight, close quarters racing. You've really got to commit fully to being able to make a pass around here, Joey.
Yeah, and we saw how difficult it was. Owen Watts got a few attempts at it. He got a few bites at the apple, but he was never really able to make the move. And Owen Watts, if you're out there, I'm looking right at you. I saw you join the PRL server. I want to talk to you. Sean Campbell, I saw you in the Spot24 chat. I know you're here in the PRL server. I want to talk to you, the mystery man, too. So, if there's any GT4 drivers out there, oh, I see a GT4 driver. Jerome Berthiaume, welcome to the booth. Thank you for showing up.
Hello. How are you doing?
We're doing
well.
good, but how did you do?
It's pretty hot here, so it was a very bad race for me. So now it's, I think P7 is really a good result considering the bad car I had.
Well, talk to me a little bit about it. I mean, it looked like you had it relatively under control, but how hard was that BMW to really wrestle around the track?
It was really the last 2 corners, and maybe it's also driving ability, but I was very confident the first 2-3 corner. I was able to attack and go deep in the brake with the brake, and I had very good timing, I think, for the first part of the track. But the last 2 corner were really hard, and there was a lot of understeer, and yeah, it was really hard. It's the last 2 corners is really the place where you can defend and also attack because of the straight, and whenever I had a bad exit on the last corner, I was screwed. So, yeah, it was really really hard race.
Well, we saw you be able to really kind of get your elbows out there in that battle with Matthias and being able to take advantage of Blake. I mean, how did you feel confidence-wise trying to make passes around here on this super fast layout? It just seemed like it was next to impossible.
Yeah, the only place you can really overtake is whenever your opponent in front messed up the last corner, so you can go on the inside of the turn 1. That's the only places. At first, I think I shouldn't have been in a battle with them because I screwed up my pit stop, so it took I put too much fuel, so it cost me like 10 seconds. So I was following. Not closely, but I was following Lopez. But yeah, it was really hard at the end fighting with him. He was pushing me a lot, so I'm glad that I managed to keep him behind me.
Well, it was a good run there for you, and we love being able to watch you be able to get your elbows out there a little bit. Anybody you'd like to thank here for the run today in 7th?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for you for broadcasting. Thanks to my teammate for racing with me tonight. Thanks to all our sponsor, Advanced Sim Racing, Race Lab, Bot Kicker, and Ninja Trader, and thanks to all the viewers.
Well, we are more than happy to bring you the action here, Jerome. Thank you so much, and congrats again.
Thank you.
All right, Joey, looks like we've got somebody else to join you. Marco Oliveira here, ready to talk to you.
Yeah, Marco, we talked to you last week just outside the top 10. Now you've broken into the top 10. 1 step forward. That's got to feel pretty good.
It does, Joey. Like we said the last race, I wanted to do a top 10. Here I am. I got some a little bit lucky at the end. I think it was Blake who lost it on the last turn. So I went from 11 to 10. So, but yeah, that was the goal. And yeah, I kept the car clean, made it to the end. That's the way it goes.
Seemed like it was a pretty heavy battle with the number 4, Matias Arangua. You guys had a little bit of contact into turn 1. How was that from your side?
Oh, was there a contact? Sorry if there was. I'm sorry. I think when we went, we went 3 wide there. I think at some point. I don't know if that was caught on the broadcast, but if there was contact, I'm sorry about that. I didn't feel it. So yeah, it was tough. This is a tough track. I'm exhausted right now.
How exhausting is it to be at a track where you're basically turning all the time? We saw the Indy cars actually, to mention a completely different series at Iowa, just constantly turning. At Lime Rock, it's almost the same thing. You never really get a break.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking during the race with Jerome. Was like, hey, there's no way you can just relax, or it's constant action, right? So yeah, it was tough, and my first few laps were on with the practice. I've raced this, I think, back then with the MX-5s, but yeah, I don't race much. But yeah, I'm happy with what we've done. It's really exhausting at the end. I'm sweating right now.
I can only imagine that it was a tough 47 laps at this place. That's just crazy. But now we move into the second half of the season. How are you feeling with 5 races to go? 1 half gone, 1 half to go.
Yeah, let's try to keep those top 10s in, and so I don't know where we stand in the constructors, but let's try to put those top 10s in so we can help the team. I know Jerome and Michael wasn't here for this race as well. I think he's done the 24 hours, so that's why he wasn't here. But yeah, I'm here to get the most points for the team.
All right, well, congrats on your top 10 tonight, and hopefully it'll only be improvements from here.
Exactly, and thank you guys for the broadcast. Thank you for the whole crew, and thank you for the members and the whole PRL community for making this happen.
That was your 10th place finisher, Marco Oliveira, and it looks like we do have one more. We have oh, we're not going to him. It's a mystery user. Unfortunately, cannot go to them. But DJ, it's always good to hear from Jerome and Marco, 2 of our organizers. They put on a great show, and it looks like the last second he has put a name on his profile. So I think we're going to talk to Keith Bonilla.
Indeed. We are, as Keith, a great run there for you out there. Started off in 3rd, finished in 3rd. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it does. It feels really great.
Well, talk to me there a little bit about that. You had a good battle with your teammate Adam Brockway up through the field. Was there any team communication there between the 2 of you, or were you racing all out?
We were just pretty much racing all out. Just kind of throwing setups back and forth, and we were just kind of challenging each other and pushing each other, and we came into this race, and we knew we both wanted to get podium, so it was a hard race, but luckily I came out ahead.
Well, you were able to come out ahead, and you had a lot of support in the YouTube chat here today. Is this podium maybe a sign of things to come for you for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I took a couple of years off of iRacing, so I just got back into it a few months ago, and trying to get back to what I used to be. And yeah, I see my old teammate from years ago in the chat, so I appreciate the support.
Well, we appreciate you coming out here, Keith. Is there anybody you'd like to thank on the day for this top 3?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my team, YS Motorsports, for giving me the chance to race with them this season. My teammates, you guys as well. Thank you for putting on such a great show, and the commentating. We really enjoy it.
No, we are more than happy to bring it in. Keith, congratulations again, and great talking to you. We hope there are more podiums to come.
Yep, I'm going to keep trying hard, man. That's the plan.
Right, that was your 3rd place finisher there, Keith Bonilla. And Joey, unfortunately, that is going to wrap us up for the night. But a great set of actions here from both of our series. And as always, I can't wait to get back to the action next week.
Hungaroring and Sandown next week. 2 tracks that are kind of famous for being a little bit bad for overtaking, but if we're going to put 2 very strong series on them, I think we'll see quite a bit of action, and I am certainly looking forward, especially to the craziness of a GT4 field at Sandown, and I really hope that that's a real nice plump and juicy field of 20-plus drivers.
I hope so too, but as we said, that is going to round things out for us here tonight as we take one last view there of our screen here at Lime Rock Park. As on behalf of Joey Tebben and myself, DJ Clark, and our director and producer behind the scenes, Connery Maddock. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.